What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Tottenham 1, Manchester United 0. 3 points in the bag. The first double over Manchester United since 1989, which is crazy. And
wow,
when's the last time we've done the treble over them? Because we've done the treble over them this season
apparently
as well.
Since the 20s.
That's madness. Absolute madness. And yeah, it was a good day all round yesterday with the protests. 3 points on the board. 5 players coming back into the first team as well. So, I mean, yesterday was a good day, wasn't it? Good day to be a Spurs fan.
Yeah, we have had very few of those recently, so I think you've got to always appreciate the good days when they come around, because when you've been on the run that we have, and finally, I think, when you have a win like yesterday, you see the players come back like yesterday. I think there was improvement. There was more cohesion in performance. It wasn't perfect by any stretch. I think anyone could admit that, and I think it was a weird one. I think if you're... I know, you know, talking about like the manager and stuff, if you're either side of it, you could probably take a lot of arguments from that game to back up your opinions. But I think at the end of the day, it was really good to get 3 points. And I do think it would have given everyone a bit of a lift just to get that home win off your back, have those players back, have one of them, two of them especially in Maddison and Vicario make a big difference in the performance as well. And just overall have that bit of positivity. I think sometimes when you're in the funk that we have, even if it's not the best win, you just need to stop the rot somehow. And I think that was the main aim yesterday.
Yeah, and I think whether you're for or against the manager, all you want is a successful Tottenham Hotspur and 3 points on the board, and that's exactly what we got yesterday. So
sure,
no one can complain. But yeah, let's start off talking about the protests, because obviously I was there yesterday. You were here. I mean, I didn't really see what the reaction was like on social media, through the various publications in the media like BBC and Sky Sports. I mean, I saw something slightly on Sky Sports after the game in the concourse it was on. But what was it like on all the media outlets?
I think people were very positive about the turnout, and people calling it a big turnout, big showing. That was what the kind of words were being used. And obviously the images, you could see swaves of people marching down the high road. So I think all in all, it got received pretty positively. There was no really images or videos, circulating like the previous protests of incendiary chanting or anything like that. So I think when it comes to people discrediting the protests, like maybe that's happened in previous times, I think that wasn't the case on this occasion. I think overall, it made a pretty positive impact online. Everyone was very positive about what they were seeing, and I think people recognised that this was definitely a lot different to the previous protests, which I definitely think was the case.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was great to be there. Just the sheer number, because when we first got to a point, I got there quite early with Danny, and there was about probably around 20, 30, 40 people there just gathering, and then as the minutes go by, as the more people started gathering, and it was just like by the time we were ready to march, it was such a sheer amount of people, such a large amount of people. I just couldn't quite believe my eyes. And then people just carried on joining throughout the march as well. And it was just unbelievable. I just couldn't believe. I mean, I expected big numbers, but I didn't expect something like that. Like, I don't know how many were there. On BBC, they were reporting between 1,000 and 2,000. I probably think somewhere in between that is probably accurate.
I know Tom Barkley of The Sun was reporting around 2,000.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the number, because like I said on the fan show yesterday, like I was right at the front trying to get footage from the front, and then I held back a little bit just to see if the line ever ends, and it just wasn't. And I was standing there for a good amount of time waiting for people to pass. And look, yesterday the fans made themselves heard, that's for sure. Made a lot of noise in a respectful way and in a good manner. And I think, a lot of people have talked down on the Levy and Ealing Out protest before, being like, oh, you're just a bunch of thugs standing on the side of the street, which is an idea which I've never really prescribed to. But yesterday you cannot have that kind of feeling, because yesterday was done in a proper way, a proper manner. And I think all the Enoch out and Levy out and people that were involved yesterday did themselves proud, because it's very easy for something like that to turn a bit nasty at points, and it never did.
Yeah, and I think as well, to mobilise that many people, like there's been struggles in the past to do that and get everyone coordinated doing the same thing. And that was what was achieved yesterday, which was great. And hopefully the club take a bit of notice. Obviously, I don't think one protest, as much as it was a lot bigger than previous, it's still only a maximum probably a couple thousand people. So I don't think one protest is going to change anything. But if it's regularly that kind of size, or hopefully more, then I think they'll have no option. They won't be able to ignore it forever. That's the reality.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's under the illusion that one protest of that size is gonna change anything. But the point is that when you're comparing that to previous protests, where it's like not even double, it's like quadruple, 6 times, whatever, 7-fold the amount of people.
Probably the largest one before was a couple of hundred, probably.
Yeah, well, exactly. So I mean, when you're looking at the numbers difference from,
so it could be 10 times even,
or even 10 times the numbers difference from previous to the one yesterday. Yesterday has got to be just a starting point, in my opinion. And Change for Spurs, with the way they've organised it, the way they've gone about kind of being able to get this many number of people and get everyone to be very respectful and everything like that is just a joy to behold. And it's got to be a starting block, a building block, and we go from there, because I do feel like this will gather momentum, and I think it will grow from there. When we were on the march down, you did see a lot of people maybe towards the stadium that weren't on the march to the sides, being like in full support of what we were doing. So that maybe suggests that a lot of people maybe didn't even know that this was taking place, and still more people that are of the same kind of thinking will be able to get involved in future events.
Yeah, I do think it'll be interesting. I'm hoping, or I'm interested to see how many more protests are organised from now to the end of the season. And as well, I would be interested to see, because obviously right now we're on a terrible run of form, especially at home. I know we got the win yesterday, but it would be interesting to see if our form does turn and we are in like a deep run Europa League, what kind of impact that would have on people attending these protests. It would be interesting. I hope it wouldn't affect the numbers, but I know that football fans can be fickle at times. So if it was to, if the fans were to keep the pressure on, just regardless of results, I think that would be the most telling thing.
Yeah. But always everything will be revealed in the coming weeks. So I do believe that there will be another one planned at a certain home game in the coming weeks. So we'll see what happens. But I just want to say big up to anyone that turned up at the protest yesterday, because you did yourselves a massive credit for the cause, and I loved being a part of it yesterday. I really did. So I was supposed to be on the watch along, and Sim was like, I think you better go to the process. This is more your bag. And it definitely was, because I had a great day yesterday. So big up to everyone involved, and definitely a big up to Change for Spurs and Jay for the organisation of it all. So yeah, bigger and better next time. But that's the most amazing starting point that we could have probably hoped for in terms of Change for Spurs. So let's move on. Let's talk about the game, because it wasn't the greatest game by any stretch of the imagination. I thought it gave the fans a lift for sure when you saw Maddison and Vicario in the starting lineup, and then you look at the bench and you're like, wow, we're not running a creche anymore. What is going on? Odebear on the bench, a doggy on the bench, Brennan Johnson on the bench, and you're like, wow, we've actually got some options.
Yeah, just before we get
change the game.
Before we get into the game, was it a bit of a surprise to see Odebear on the bench? Because a lot of people were saying he wasn't going to be available till near the end of the season. People even saying, even though he's back in training, he's not going to touch grass until 2-3 weeks, and he's going to be bedded in slowly. And look, to be fair, he only got 5 minutes, so I think he will be bedded in slowly. It was a great 5 minutes, but I guess when you're seeing, I was a bit surprised at the beginning when I saw his name, because I was like, is he really available to play straight away? I thought they were going to be a bit more careful with him.
I was surprised to see Brennan on the bench as well. But yeah, I guess particularly Odebear. We did hear, didn't we, a couple of months ago that we put on social media that he'll be back in training on the 10th.
Yeah. But then, because I think it was Paul O'Keefe said a while ago, he's going to probably miss a large chunk of the season, which, to be fair, he has. But he was kind of insinuating he will only be back later on. Yeah, and people were saying, he's going to be back in training in February. He said, yeah, but he's not going to be anywhere near ready till April.
Yeah, but to be fair to Paul O'Keefe, he did reply to our tweet saying he's back in training on the 10th. And someone basically atted him in it and saying, is there any truth in this? I thought you said he's going to miss a large chunk of the season. And Paul O'Keefe just replied, it depends what your definition of large part of the season is.
Okay, fair enough.
So I don't know. He didn't actually say he's going to be March and beyond. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. But really great to have him back. And you could just see the impact he made in that 5-minute cameo. But anyway, that was from the lineup. As you say, in terms of as well in the lineup, gave a bit of a break to Archie Gray, which was nice because I think he needed it. The amount of football he's played. And I thought the lineup was probably a pretty good lineup, I think. And he went with, what I liked about it is he went with Maddison with Bergvall together, which was a big departure, obviously, from the that midfield we had at Anfield, which I know Maddison was unavailable for anyway, but I like that Ange wanted a bit more technical ability in there to get your foot on the ball and not just look for legs. And that was what we were maybe worried about a bit in the lead up to this game. We predicted Sarr to play with Basuma, but he went for players who are much more comfortable on the ball with Maddison and Bergvall and even Bentancur. So I think that was good. And I think for large parts of that first half, it did work.
Yeah, it did work, albeit, United did seem to have a couple of chances. You look at that one where Garnacho got the freedom of our right-hand side and he really should have polished it off at that point. And just before we scored, I think they had like a triple chance in one kind of move. So I thought those two were probably the only real times they opened us up in the first half, but they were still quite significant chances and they could have easily scored. Yeah,
the first one comes from a very speculative ball from Maguire, just playing it down the channels. And if you actually watch it, Davis is like running towards He's not even running towards the ball. He's running to block off Højlund. And he then looks to his left. He realises Højlund's not there. And he completely loses him. And Højlund gets the edge on him. He gets to cut inside. He shoots. Vicario makes a good save. It falls to Garnacho. His long-range shot is well saved again by Vicario. Then Dalot at the far post probably could be doing better with that effort. And Davis ends up making up for a mistake. But I think if that's Van de Ven, I don't think that happens. I think Van de Ven cuts out that pass quite simply. But I think Davis kind of made a pig zero of it a bit and allowed Man United to get in. And then the other one you're talking about, that came from a few struggles we are going through in that little period for about 5-10 minutes where we were trying to build up from the back and United were catching us on a few occasions, and that was one of them. Actually, that one came from a really poor blind pass from Decky. He just blindly plays it inside, which, to be honest, that is something that I've seen a few of our players do now. So I'm starting to question whether it's a move that we work on in training, but these players keep getting wrong, or it's an instruction, because I think at Villa Park, I saw Tell do it for the goal we conceded, the second goal we conceded. I've seen Son do that a number of times this season, play these blind passes in field, which basically, if you get it wrong, because you're playing it in field, straight line, it just basically invites pressure. The opposition are going to directly attack you if you get that wrong. And Decky did that yesterday.
We've seen Basuma doing it a number of times as well.
Basuma's done it, so that is something we need to sort out. I think I'm guessing what the theory behind it is we play these little parts inside because we're supposed to be well coordinated, where these players should be in position to pick up those passes and get beyond the United attackers, but we keep getting them wrong at the moment, and that's something we definitely need to look at as to why we keep making these blind, seemingly suicidal inside passes, like with little care with where they're going, and that is continuously putting us under pressure. And that's where the Garnacho chance came, because Decky played this blind pass inside. I think it was Bruno wins the header ahead of I think it was Bentancur. Xerxes picks up the ball, plays it back to Bruno. He plays a quick through ball. We're disorganised because we've just lost the ball in build up. Bruno plays a quick ball to Garnacho, and we're lucky it wasn't 1-1 at that point. But in terms of our goal, though, fairly decent move. Good move between Porro and Bentancur. Good build up between the right hand side. Good ball from Bentancur to Son to the back post. His shot or cross was blocked. Fells to Bergvall. Snapshot from him. And saved by Onana. Maddison pits the rebound in. What I would say is I think Onana should be doing a lot better with that, because it wasn't the most powerful shot, was it? And I think a top keeper either parries that well beyond the goal or even hangs on to it, because I think he probably could have held that. I think that shot from Bergvall spills it, and Maddison, I don't know if he silences the critics, but in his mind he was definitely sending a message to Roy Keane with his he did that and then the dart celebration. So what did you make of him firing back at Roy Keane?
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Roy Keane had some very harsh words for him, didn't he, on what show was it? The Overlap.
Yeah, the Overlap.
Yeah, and
he said, "What's Maddison? How do you expect Maddison to come in? And he's not a guy you wait for and expect things to turn around." When he comes back.
Ian Wright, fair to him, was in full defence of Maddison at the time. He's like, "Maddison, you're the only one that can shut this guy up," and that's what he did. And I like those kind of celebrations. I like it when players have a bit of personality, because in this day and age, and the days of, over media trained players and everything like that, sometimes you lose the human element and the kind of shithousery element of football. And I hate the way that the Premier League in particular are trying to sanitize that kind of side of the game. It really winds me up and annoys me, and so I like it when I see these kind of players snapping back like that and just showing they're human. That's what it's all about. That's why we fell in love with the game, like these kind of moments as well. Not the sole reason, but definitely part of the reason,
for sure.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of Maddison doing something like that. And in terms of Maddison in his performance yesterday, I feel like he did come back with a bit of a point to prove. Not just the goal, but his performance in the first half. He was all over the place. He was, dropping deep.
In a good way.
Yeah. He was all over the show. He was running the show. He was dropping deep, playing these lovely balls in behind. He was dictating the tempo of the game. I think Man United, I don't know what their instruction was to try and stop him, but it feels like they had no instruction at all to try and stop him, because what they were doing was basically any time he had the ball, he had so much time, so much space, so much everything to strut his stuff and to do what he needs to do. Maddison must have thought he struck gold yesterday, because no one made any attempt to stop him.
Well, I thought he was fouled quite a few times, Maddison, especially early on. Like, he was doing his little love. I love it when
how much time and space did he have on the ball?
And when Maddison's in the mood, when he does those movements where he picks the ball up, just a little quick swivel around the player, and he earns himself that little yard.
Yeah.
And, he was doing that countless of times yesterday. And Man United definitely struggled to deal with that. And yeah, I think obviously Man United played their formation, the 3-4-3, with a double pivot, and I think they were outnumbered in the middle, and it led to Bergvall being able to have a lot of space, stride past players. It led to Maddison operating in those little pockets, especially he was coming deep to pick the ball up of the centre-back, and he was also getting the ball quite a bit in the final third as well. And Man United really struggled to deal with his movement and to deal with especially his quick touches and the sharpness he definitely came into the game with. And for sure, for those first 45, I was thinking this guy is probably man of the match at the moment. He's the best player on the pitch. They really couldn't contain him, and it was really great. Obviously, he got the goal, and it was really great to see him in the mood he was in, because we know when he's in that's the kind of what we expect from Maddison. And what's also quite encouraging is we saw last season, I know it was maybe a bit different because it was a longer term injury, but we saw last season he was out for 3 months, and it really took him a while. We might even argue he never really hit the heights he hit when he came back from before his injury. But it was really encouraging that this time he came back, and he came back straight away, contributing and looking really sharp, and that was the most encouraging thing.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he wasn't out for that long this time, so it wasn't a significant injury.
But still, how many times have we heard, Maddison plays well, then gets an injury, and then you don't see the same Maddison?
I mean, we haven't seen him since the Hoffenheim game, so I mean, it's really not that long a time. I think when you're talking about his injury last time, it was a proper significant injury where he needed proper recovery time, where this time it's not really the same.
I know, I'm talking about the narrative around him.
Yeah.
Like when he was at Leicester and all these things. And it might be true. I'm just saying it was really encouraging that he came back from an injury, and he came back flying. And especially as Ange even said, he was ahead of schedule. So maybe is there fears that he could be rushed back and all these different things. But he came back and he looked at his sharpest and at his best. And that was, probably the most encouraging thing from his performance.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think in the second half, he didn't really come out with the same kind of maybe vibe that he had in that first half. I thought second half maybe he was just a bit tired, and after 2-3 weeks out not kicking a ball, and you put in such a shift in that first half, he just didn't have that same impact in the second half. And then maybe it's just because he's coming back from the injury.
But just before you went off, he made that brilliant challenge. I think it was on Bruno, maybe it was.
Yeah.
From, he made one really big run, got that sliding challenge in, won the ball back, and then he went off substituted.
Yeah.
I saw actually, I can't remember who, I saw seeing some reactions yesterday, some people doing watch-alongs and whatever. So I was watching some, and there was quite a bit of head loss I saw from a few people saying, why is he taking Maddison off? He's our best player, he's the manager, what's he doing? But I just think...
There was that from a certain person sitting next to me as well.
Was there?
Mr. Danny Kiriakou, he's you go, why is he taking Maddison off? And I said to him, chill, man. He's just come back from injury.
Yeah, I think you can't have it both ways.
You're right.
You know, you can't say, oh, he doesn't rotate, he doesn't protect, and when he does it, you're like battering him for that as well. Like you can either you say that's what you want, or you can't criticize him the other way.
It's just a natural reaction though when someone's playing so well and he goes off so early in the game when the game's still in the balance. I think it's just a natural reaction.
Yeah, I get it, and it's also like when you're in the game, you know, you don't see the bigger picture. You just see about that specific game and how you're going to win it. So, I think that's fair enough. I understand it, but I'm just saying I saw a bit of it, and I think people got to understand that he's come back from an injury. And look, we've got players on the beauty is we have players on the bench we can now bring on and to kind of make the impact and change the game.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
I felt like Spurs were, you know, good value for the win yesterday. I think we deserved the win. I thought we were controlling it for the most part. But
one thing that definitely looked better was the press. The press was a lot more coordinated, I think it's fair to say.
And I just felt like we just held a much better shape about us as well. We just looked a lot more kind of assured in the system that we were playing. We looked much more assured and calm on the ball. Where in the last few games, well, the last couple of months, it's just been a bit too erratic. A lot of people don't know what they're doing and trying to change up the system a bit here and there, and it just seems like a lot of players might have been a bit confused on the pitch. I thought everyone knew their roles yesterday. And look, it didn't mean that we were unbelievable, we were perfect, or we were far from it. You know, it wasn't a vintage Spurs display by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a display where we deserved the win. We did concede a few too many chances to this Manchester United team for my liking, because you look at Man United, they're really struggling to create, and they created a bit too much against us for for the chances that they have been creating in the last couple of games.
For sure, and I think, especially, you know, United side who are struggling probably as badly as us now as we were, you know, before this game.
This is their first game with it, though.
Yeah, 100%. And so, you know, they can maybe deal with it a bit better than we have when we were doing it for 2 months. But I think definitely there were moments where Man United did have the ascendancy and they did have a bit of control, and especially I think in the second half, I think how the second half started, they started quite well and they were really getting into the game. They were using the wing backs really effectively. Dorgu, Dalot were getting in all sorts of spaces, whipping in some early crosses into Højlund and into Xerxes. I thought Xerxes, funnily enough, I thought he had a really good game. I thought he was someone who we struggled to deal with when he was on the ball, doing little nutmegs, little close controls and really good link play with Bruno. He was one player I thought we struggled to contain when he got the ball. It seemed to like they were able to sustain some sort of attack. But I thought our pressing when they were playing out the back was a lot better than it has been. I thought they struggled a lot in their build up due to our intensity. I thought we were outnumbering them a lot in the midfield. But I think the chances we gave them were a lot of them from our own making, problems with our own build-up. I thought when they were pressing from our goal kicks, there were times where we were going long to tell and we were losing it quite easily, and we were giving it to Decky and he wasn't hanging on to the ball too much on the right-hand side. So definitely wasn't perfect in that front. We probably allowed a few too many crosses. And as well, there are some snapshots you can see where United are whipping in crosses, and there are, again, players free at the back post. And if they got those crosses right, it could have been a different story. On top of that, they did create chances as well. Xerxes had that unbelievable header. Garnacho has that chance in the first half, you know, clear on goal. So definitely moments where you could say we got a bit lucky not to concede, and definitely moments where we were a bit disorganised at the back where we should have been a lot better. But I also feel like we had a number of chances, especially in the last 15 minutes on the breakaway, where we just didn't make anywhere near enough of them. We were actually doing really well to nick the ball in really dangerous areas in terms of United were piling players forward. They were obviously playing it around the midfield. Then we would like nick it on the edge of our box, and all of a sudden we'd spring to the counters. We'd have Tel, we'd have Son, we'd have players forward, and consistently they were picking the wrong options, they were doing the wrong things, and the chances were gone. And if we would have made it, like, as much as people could say United could have easily equalised, we also could have easily made it 2 or 3-0 in that front, and we were also equally as wasteful. So I think there's enough things to be frustrated about, and I don't think that performance overall is going to convince anyone that we're set to go on a mad winning streak. But I also think you can't deny that we definitely looked more organised. We definitely looked a lot fresher and a lot more energetic. And I think it's hard to disagree that the players come back from injury made an impact.
Yeah, they definitely made an impact. No doubt about it. And the one player that is just consistently making impact now, and that is Jed Spence. Got man of the match yesterday. He was my man of the match as well. I think he was your man of the match as well. I mean, he just dominated that left-hand side, didn't he? And they just didn't know how to deal with him. Mazraoui must be having nightmares of Jed Spence tonight because he just kept taking him on, kept beating him. He kept driving. He was the only player actually yesterday, which I noticed, that was finding that space and just driving into it. A lot of players just saw the space and they were just like passing it around a little bit. And I was calling for a number of these players, just look at that space and drive into it. And Jed Spence was the only one that taking it upon himself to make himself a real nuisance for the opposition. And from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint, I thought he just played such a great game yesterday.
I thought he was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. The amount of times, especially in that last half an hour, where United were looking to get control of the game and he would pick the ball up, and he would have people like Dalot and Mazraoui up against him, who are obviously used to dealing with, you know, high-class wingers in the Premier League, and they're coming up against Jed Spence and they just couldn't handle him. They couldn't out-muscle him. They couldn't out-muscle him at all. He was able to wriggle away with certain situations. I thought his dribbling, he was going past them like they weren't there. And this is our, you know, backup left back, or supposedly backup left back, right now, doing that to Man United's first choice defenders. And I thought that was a real testament to his ability on the ball, his strength on the ball, his speed, his ability to get it past even some really good fullbacks like in Mazraoui and Dalot, who are very good defensively, is their biggest strength. And Spence made them look like poor players, made them look like really poor fullbacks. And I thought defensively, I thought he did his job pretty well. I don't think anyone really got past him at all throughout the whole game. I thought his recovery runs were really good. And also, he made that really good sliding challenge block for Højlund as well. And when he looked like he could score, brilliant sliding challenge to prevent that for when we looked like we got opened up for a moment. And Jed Spence got us out of trouble. And also he created chances. I think he was one who set up that chance for Tell, ball across the face of goal, and Tell blazed it over. Should have been doing better, but that was all came from a Spence run. And it felt like whenever he saw space, he wasn't scared to drive into it. He's like, if I see space, I'm gonna charge into it. I'm gonna exploit it. And United just didn't know how to handle that, and it just created space for a lot of other players once they had to, you know, use players to commit to closing that space where Spence was exploiting, and it left spaces for Son, for Maddison and other players to really exploit. So I thought he had a brilliant performance. He's getting better by the week. I thought this was his best performance of the season so far. He seems to be getting better and better, and he's still kind of playing out of position as well, which is a testament to his versatility. So, you know, the England squad's coming up. There's a lot of talk about it, which I think he definitely deserves. Whether he'll make it or not, we'll have to wait and see. But I think he definitely deserves it, and I think he's playing unbelievably at the moment. And once Udogi's back to full fitness, Ange is definitely going to have a hard decision to make when it comes to bigger games and who he plays. Because right now you can't leave Spence out.
No, you cannot. And I want to see us persist with Spence, whether it be at left back or right back. I really want to see the duo of Spence and Udogi at fullbacks when Udogi gets back to full fitness, because I think that could be something really positive for us. Another player who I want to talk about is Kevin Danso, because I thought he played really well yesterday. The way he kind of just steps out from defence into the midfield and makes those runs, I thought was brilliant. Really strong in the tackle as well. The amount of brilliant challenges he made yesterday. And he's just really strong. He's just like an ox, isn't he? Bloody hell. And, you know, just have these options now with Danso, Van der Ven, Romero, when these guys get back. It's going to just do us the world of good. And I think, I wouldn't say concerned, because I do think it's better than what we've got with Dragoshin. I think on the ball, he's not as good as maybe a Cuti Romero. But, I mean, that's not saying much, because Cuti Romero is unbelievable on the ball. But... I thought he was going to be a little bit better on the ball when we signed him, but I think that the way he kind of makes space for himself and just charges into that empty space in midfield, a lot of times our players didn't find him yesterday when he had like acres of space, and maybe they went for the wrong option. So maybe when they learn his game a bit more and they've been on the field with him a bit more, they'll start to learn that. But he was finding himself in such great spaces yesterday.
Yeah, he's definitely brave on the ball. One moment that stood out for me, which really kind of showed me how much better he is on the ball than Dragoshin. There was this one moment where he picks the ball up from centre-back, he charges forward, he then charges into the space on the right side, he then does a 1-2 of Porro, he plays the ball to Porro, continues his run down the line, and Porro just plays that pass down the line, and all of a sudden we start on an attack, and I'm like, I just don't see Dragshin ever doing that. Dragshin would be way too scared to kind of take the ball as far and continue his run like that. And I think Danso is very clearly a brave player. He's fearless. He's very, very strong, I thought. And as well, his recovery pace is pretty good because, again, you saw that moment the ball gets played in behind. Hoyland's looking like he's going to be an on goal. He's looking like he's going to get beyond Danso. But Danso made sure he got there first, and he made sure he got the ball back to Vicario. And I think he was absolutely great in those moments. And I think, on the ball, I think he kept it a lot simpler yesterday in most aspects, and was making sure he was just playing the simple pass, wasn't looking to play too many forward passes like he's maybe overhit in a few of the other games. But definitely with his positioning, you can see if he sees space, he exploits it and he goes for it. He doesn't think, I'm a centre-back, I have to be in this position, which maybe is a problem. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But I think when we're on the ball and he sees a bit of space in the middle of the park and he wants to be a passing option, he'll make the run. He'll move into that position, which I don't think people like Dragshin do and enough of the time. So I think in terms of his bravery and his kind of the way he plays, I do think he's really good fit for what we're trying to do compared to Dragshin, who seems to be a bit more of a safety first kind of defender.
Yeah, exactly. And 100% it suits the system a lot more. I couldn't agree more. I mean, the two players as well, in Deki and Porro, out on that right-hand side, I do think the week's rest did them both the world of good. I think it showed a lot more with Porro than maybe Kulusevski, but I think Kulusevski's just, the energy levels were, I wouldn't say completely back, but it was a lot better than what we've seen in previous weeks. I felt like even towards the end of the game, he was able to make those charges up the pitch and provide quality for the team. But I felt Kulusevski just wasn't really at his game that well yesterday. He did create a little bit, but nowhere near the chance creation, which he usually does. And in terms of being aggressive and winning those duels, he kind of came second best to a lot of those as well yesterday.
Yeah, I have to agree. I don't think it was his best game. I thought up against Dorgu as well, I thought actually Dorgu had a fairly decent game. I thought he wasn't able to get that physical advantage on enough occasions. He did it a couple of times and got to the byline and got a few crosses in, but again, wasn't able to create those chances. And I think he moved into the centre for the last 20 minutes, I think it was 20 minutes, or half an hour. Didn't think, again, was particularly good when he was in the centre either. I did think there was a few times, though, like on a breakaway, he made a really good run and it just wasn't found. I think Tell and Son on a couple of occasions didn't find him and had their head down or played a poor pass. So maybe it could have been different. But I also think, again, it just wasn't his best game. I don't think it was maybe as bad as it has been in other games. I think it was better, but I will still think, we know what Deki's capable of, and I still didn't think he reached those heights yesterday. Far from it, I would say.
Yeah, and I think with players coming back now, it's a good opportunity to give him a rest. With Brennan Johnson back in the frame now, Wilson Odobert, these kind of guys are going to come back. Maddison, they're going to come back and give him a bit of respite, and the bit of respite which he desperately needs. That's the reality. And I think it did show yesterday as well that he still needs a rest, but I did feel like the energy levels were probably better than what we have seen in previous weeks. And I think with Pedro Porro as well, Pedro obviously was caught out a couple of times at right back, which we know with the positions he takes up on the pitch. But I think from an offensive standpoint, he was kind of back at it, wasn't he?
Brilliant, some brilliant crosses. I thought he was really on it. I thought, again, one of the players who, when he picks up the ball in the final third, you're thinking he's going to put this delivery on a play. And he did create a few really good opportunities, which we should have done a lot more with. So I thought going forward, he was really good. He did obviously get caught out for that Garnacho chance, but I thought that was more due to our failures in build-up than I think Porro himself. But obviously he did get caught in that moment. And actually, if you see the chance, he comes rushing towards Bruno when I don't know why he's the one doing that. Why isn't it one of the players who play centrally to rush towards him? And Bruno was able to quickly play the pass to the space which he vacated, and bam, it was a really good chance. So I think still stuff to work on for Porro, but on the ball, I think he's one of the best players in our team, to be honest. With that ability, he has that passing ability, that crossing ability. That's the problem. If you take him out for Spence, you lose that ability as well. But Spence has also shown a propensity to create chances. So it'll be interesting to see what Ange does when they're all fully fit, they're all on top of their game, and when a doggy's back, which he was on the bench yesterday, he didn't get any minutes, but when he's back, it's going to be very, very interesting. Kind of what our first choice fullback pairing will be.
Yeah.
I don't know what it will be, but in terms of overall, I know people say United are a mess. United are it was not impressive beating them, and I have to agree they're not a good team at the moment, and they're clearly team not only struggling with injury but struggling with form, struggling with adapting to Amorim's kind of system. But it is still a team that went to the Etihad and won, went to Anfield and got a draw, went to the Emirates and ground out penalties and went for on penalties in the FA Cup with 10 men as well. Went to Fulham not so long ago, won 1-0. So, it's not like the easiest win in the world, as much as it wasn't. We didn't have to be on our best to win. I think that's for certain. But you can never take this win for granted. And I know United, we should have won this game. We're going in, we all wanted to win, and we did get the win. But as I've said, away from home, they've actually had some really good results against some really big teams. So
results,
still have to
yes,
beat them.
but performances, no. Like they
They're
are
good at Anfield.
Yeah, maybe one game you're talking about in the Ruben Amorim since he's come in, but the majority of games that they've played this season, they've been awful. Their chance creation has been little, next to nothing. They've been maybe more solid defensively since Amorim has come in and Ten Hag has left, but they are a really poor side. They really are, and I think in terms of form, not results form, but in terms of form, in terms of how the team is playing, I think the only team worse than them at the moment are Leicester. I genuinely believe that.
Look, you might be right. All I'm saying is, better teams than us have struggled to beat them at home in recent weeks, and we got the job done, and I think deservedly so. We won 1-0. I don't think it's gonna change any opinions that win and the way we won it until we see us really flying and getting wins like we were maybe early in the season. We're really blowing teams away. I think that's when people will maybe give the manager a bit of a break. I think right now, obviously, look, wins ease the pressure. It's only natural. They will ease the pressure a bit, but we have to really grab this momentum. And now, hopefully, getting the win or 2 wins on the trot now in the league, getting players back as well. Now 1 game week as well, so have that rest time at the same time. Hopefully, those kind of all these issues kind of being resolved a bit will lead to some really positive momentum. It's easier said than done. We've got to go out and win these games, and we have to prove that the run that we were on before doesn't really represent the true nature of this team. And if we could do that, then people will start to believe in the manager again. But I think right now he's still, obviously we've got a lot of work to do, and I know that. Yesterday I don't think we were amazing. Like, we were good. We were probably okay. We were good. We were good, more organised, more fresher. It was a step in the right direction. But United as well still had enough chances to probably get something out of the game on another day. As much as we should have put them outside, we didn't, and we nearly got punished for it. So I think, still a lot of work to do. But I think it's also only natural that is going to happen it's only their first game back as well for a lot of these players. They need to get back in the swing of things, and they need to get more minutes on the training ground and get back up to speed. And I think that's only natural, and I think that will happen. So let's just hope we can go on a really positive run now.
Yeah, let's hope so. And look, I've said it many times now, but as much I couldn't want anything more than for Ange Postecoglou to prove me wrong and for us to go on a really good run and to go far in the Europa League. And look, we've got an opportunity now with all these players coming back for Ange to go, I'm going to prove you all wrong now, and I'm going to go on a big run, and I'm going to turn and I'm going to prove you all wrong. And I really hope that is the case, but jury is still massively out.
Do you think we can do it, though? Do you think we can go on a good run?
I hope so. I mean, look,
I think we can.
I don't know if we can, because we've got some really hard games coming up. We've got Man City coming up after Ipswich. We've got Bournemouth, Fulham, Chelsea away.
Yeah, but these teams now are starting to suffer from a similar injury crisis. Not maybe as bad, but still quite bad injury crisis. These teams, United stuff definitely made a difference to United yesterday. The fact they couldn't really bring on a sub definitely made a difference to them. You say Bournemouth, Chelsea, they've also got big injury problems now coming up.
But
now
Bournemouth
we're facing
have
them.
been able to handle those injuries. They're kind of like smashing everyone with the injury crisis. Look at the results that they're getting. They're looking like a really serious team, Bournemouth, and they're actually they're going for like top 4 at the moment with all these injuries. So And Man City as well. Man City seemed to have turned a corner. Look at what they were like. They were brilliant on the weekend. It seemed like they were to the Man City of old with that performance of this completely dispatching Newcastle like they're some relegation fodder. That's what it was like. It was complete domination for Man City, and there's Nico Gonzalez in the middle seemed to have made all the difference on the weekend. So I am really worried coming up against Bournemouth and Man City in the next 2-3 weeks. But look, if we can go on a run now, then I think a lot of people's opinions on Ange Postecoglou will definitely change. I think he needs to finish in the top half of the table, and I think it is within our grasp.
Well, what, we're 7 points behind now?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not near, but just keep chipping away.
No, but
from
I think if we go on a good run from now to the end of the season and show some sort of consistency in the league, I think we will be in the top half.
I think we will. I think we will. If we can keep these players fit, keep this good feeling, I don't see a reason why not. I just don't know if we can do it. And, you look back with all the players coming back yesterday, 3 more players get knocks and go off the pitch yesterday with Son, Danso and Rodrigo Bentancur. I mean, Ange said after the game that he doesn't think it's anything significant, but he also said that Maddison was just a bit sore and then we didn't see him for 3 weeks. So yeah, you never really know until till they've come back into training on the Monday and see the extent of what's happened. Obviously, Danso looked like he picked up a knock and then he looked like he wanted to continue, and then Ange decided to take him off. Bentancur had ice on his knee, so whether it's just a bump or whether it's anything more serious, we'll have to wait and see. But he wasn't down the tunnel; he was on the touchline with it. And Sonny went off 5 minutes to go. He was a bit of a knock, but whether that was planned anyway to give Odegaard 5 minutes, I don't know. But he did say all 3 of them have knocks, so let's just hope they're up. That happens in football. You get knocks. Let's just hope that they turn out to be okay.
Let's hope so. But it seems like this has kind of been the theme all season, right? We see a few players coming back, then another few players go out.
That's been the law of the season.
Exactly. So I'm just hoping it's not the same again. But yeah, look, in terms of Ange, he's got from now until the end of the season to prove everyone wrong, and let's just hope he does that. Do I think he will do it? I don't know. The jury's out. I don't think yesterday's game has changed my mind in any sort of way, but I'm just hoping that he does turn it around, because I want him to succeed at Tottenham. That's the reality. So let's hope we can go far in the Europa League, and let's hope we can have a good end to the season with our players back, and let's hope we can keep some sort of players' fitness from now until the end of the season, because that's been a big struggle for us. But
what do you think if we did a poll now, Ange and Angel? What do you think it would be?
Well, I mean, it's always been the majority Ange, so I still think
it was creeping toward with each loss. Though, it was creeping towards Angel.
It was, but I mean, I don't think it ever dropped below 60%, did it?
I think the last one we did was 55-45.
55, not 40. Oh, yeah, 55 maybe. But I still think, I think it'll be above 55%. I think around 60%.
Go on then, let's see it. I think after a win, I think no one's ever going to say Ange out. I don't think after, not anyone, but Ange in or. Let's see what you guys think out there.
The reality is, if you're Ange in, Ange out,
shake it all about.
Exactly. It doesn't really matter anymore, because we know he's going to be here till the end of the season. So whether you're Ange in or Ange out, you may as well just put that to the side of your mind and just see what happens for the rest of the season, and then we take it from there.
Yeah, and I think obviously now we've got these 2 wins. Any thoughts of what people are worried about, relegation, all this stuff? That's definitely not going to happen now, and I think Tottenham can finally start looking upwards instead of behind us. I think.
Exactly, and that's when I said sack Ange now, when we were like creeping towards a relegation zone, and I think that win against Brentford did a lot in terms of saying, look, we ain't getting relegated now. I don't think it's any sort of fear. 10 points above, it's just not going to happen. So now we're getting our players back. I think it's important to give Ange these players and give Ange this time to see if he can turn it around, and then we'll know.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. So that is it. That is our match review. We got a super chat from Dark Sun G saying it was great to have Wilson, Vic, Mads, Udogie, Johnson back. Now all that is left is Richie, Dom, Kuti and Van der Ven, and then we can win the Europa League.
Come on,
in the top 10.
Let's go.
Let's hope that's.
Let's go.
Let's hope, and let's hope no other players get injured, because that has been a big source of frustration.
It's also going to be very interesting to see how he rotates now, because if we're obviously one game a week,
yeah.
So
one game a week for a little bit, because the Europa League comes back in next month.
Well, when it is one game a week, my point being, when it is one game a week, I'm assuming he's probably going to stick to his mostly his strongest team for a lot of that. Like, he's not going to bring in fringe players, I don't think, when it's one game a week. But then when there's Europa League in, we know how important Europa League is. So is he going to go with the strongest team in Europa and then rest a few players in the Prem?
But it's only 2 games till the Europa League comes back around.
Yes, I'm saying. So I'm saying, like, I don't see Ipswich, the lineup against Ipswich, my point being very different to maybe the lineup against United. I think it's probably going to be quite similar.
I think it very much depends, because I think it depends on how...
Actually, it's not even, because after Ipswich is a midweek game, isn't it, City?
Yeah, Thursday night. Is it Thursday night?
Wednesday night, I think.
Wednesday night. But I think it very much depends on what the state of the players coming back, how fit is Odebear, how fit is Johnson, because I still believe that you need to give Kulusevski and some of these players a rest now, even Sonny to a certain extent. So I would like to still see these players get a rest.
No, I don't doubt that. I'm just saying, like, when Europa League comes around, if we know how much we want to improve our league position, but as well, we know how important the Europa League is. So, like, does he, let's say he wants to play Decky in one of those games, does he go with him in the Prem or Europa?
Europa for sure.
I would want him to go in Europa, but it would be interesting to see what he does.
I think he does. I think he knows how important the Europa League is. He keeps mentioning it in every press conference as well.
Yeah. Well, it's our only avenue of glory, so...
Not only is that our only avenue of glory, but it's pretty much our only realistic avenue to get back into Europe next season as well.
True. Champions League or bust.
Yeah. So I think it's everything is on the Europa League now.
And what's funny is, if you think of it from board level as well, whereas previously, they might not have been that bothered about Europa League because we're challenging for top 4 and that's maybe a better route. But now they're going to be like, you better win that Europa League.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all on the Europa League now for the rest of the season. And I never prescribed to the idea of I don't really care about the league form and I only care about the cups this season. I never really agreed with that, but I damn sure agree with it now. That's for sure.
For sure, 100%. But I still think it's important that we show some sort of consistency in the league.
For sure. I think it's important for Ange's future to show consistency in the league.
Like just get from now on. I'm not saying win every game, but let's say get 2 points a game, which would be how many games? So let's say that's like 26 points, which would be in 13 games, which would be like 10 wins and 3. What would that be? Not 10 wins. It would be, let's say, 7 wins and 7 times 3, 21. Yeah, 7 wins or 8 wins. It would be 8 wins in 13 games.
How many points are you saying?
Let's say it's 2 points a game, which is top 4 form.
Yeah,
that's 26 points.
Yeah, which will leave us on 56 points.
Yeah, we're not. Which season. I'm not saying it's going to get us anywhere. I'm saying it will show a bit of consistency. What I'm saying, what would 2 points a game? What is that like for wins and losses? That's like 8 wins and 8 wins and 5 draws or something, something like that. So I think that's the kind of form I'd like to see.
Yeah, I mean, if we can show that kind of form or better and go very far in the Europa League semi-final or final, dare I say, win the thing, then I think Ange will probably be here for next season. That's what I would say.
Dalton Harris, what's he saying? He said...
If Ange manages a top 5 finish in the league, does our view of him change? It will be an uphill battle, but not out of the realms of possibility. If Ange Postecoglou finishes in the top 5 this season...
Build him a statue.
Well, I won't go that far. But I would say Ange has done enough to keep his job from
more
now
than
to the
enough.
season.
If we get top 5,
yeah.
I mean, from this position, we're 13 points behind, which is a lot. It's probably insurmountable. But the only thing I would say is Arsenal did that to us. We were 13 points ahead of them, and they overtook us. But
how far were we behind when Conte got top 4 that year?
Probably not 13 points.
Was it not?
No.
We were like mid-table at that point, weren't we? Even lower, weren't we?
Yeah, but Arsenal also didn't have the best start to the season because they lost their first.
But there were
3
so many
games.
teams in between us. There must
Yeah.
have been like a significant gap.
When Conte took over, I don't think it, because it was still quite early on. It was like 10 games in.
So it was only 10 games in.
Yeah,
was it?
so I don't think it would have been. I think there was one point. I think we were like 7 or 8 potentially points behind, but I don't think it was ever 13. I just remember that one season when the season where Van Persie had that mad season. We were 13 points at one point ahead of Arsenal.
Yeah.
And they overtook us.
Yeah, I remember that.
So it's happened, but it only seems to happen to us, really. We don't seem to do it to other people. So I don't know whether I don't think I should expect it. But all I'm saying, we're 13 points at the moment behind Chelsea, who are currently in, who are they, 6th? So
Chelsea, 6th, yeah.
Yeah, we're 13 points behind.
Yeah.
So that's 5 wins.
Yeah.
We have to win 5 more games than them. I
Yeah.
think that pretty much means winning every game, I think.
Not only does it mean winning every game, but
They will drop in 5 games, I'm sure of that, but I don't think we're gonna win every game.
they've got Villa away next, but after that they got Southampton and Leicester both at home.
Yeah,
And
which they're
in
gonna
that
win.
time we've got Man City and Bournemouth. So it could be more than 5 games after that run.
Yeah.
So yeah, we ain't
Well, unless we
finished
beat
above
Ipswich
Chelsea.
and they lose to Villa, then that's down to 4 games. Then
Yeah.
back up to
then back up to
5,
5,
yeah.
and then who knows what happens against Bournemouth. So yeah, we're not finishing above Chelsea this season.
No, I wouldn't put money on
tell you
it.
that.
What are the odds? No, I'm joking.
I guarantee you we're not finishing above Chelsea this season.
Well, I've got money on it, so I'm still holding out hope.
I think if we can finish 8th, it'll be a great end to the season.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to go on we'd have to hit some really good form just to finish 8th,
Yeah, exactly.
which is we're now
We're
currently
9 points behind Fulham.
9 points behind Fulham. I mean, as in, when I look at these teams, I think with X amount of points behind them, like, for me, it's all about us because all these teams are going to drop lots and lots of
100%.
points. None of these teams are going to be consistent, especially because of injuries, especially because I think they're all like, all the teams around them are very good. All the mid-table teams are very good. So they're all going to drop loads of points. It's about us staying consistent. If we can stay consistent, it's all about just focusing on ourselves.
What is Europe then? What are the standings going to be for Europe? Because we're assuming top 5 is Champions League this season. Apparently it's like a 98% chance of 5th getting Champions League for England.
So it's very likely 5th is going to be Champions League.
In terms of the Carabao Cup, so if Liverpool win the Carabao Cup, let's assume,
It goes down to 7th.
well, that's a Conference League spot, isn't it?
Right now, Carabao's a Conference League spot, yeah.
So there's one Conference League spot or 2
One.
One. So originally there's no Conference League spot to the league. It just goes to the Carabao Cup. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it goes down to 7th usually, I think. It goes to 6th. Does it go to 6th? Yeah, because
6th will be Europa League.
usually it's complicated. So usually top 4 is Champions League, 5th is Europa League, the other one goes to the FA Cup, and the Conference League is Carabao. So actually, in theory, only the top 5 should be getting Europe, right? In theory. But obviously, usually the cup winners are in the top 4.
Yeah.
And also usually 5th is in Champions League. So now, with 5th being Champions League, I mean, that means 6th goes down to to 1 spot in Europa League.
Yeah.
If
And
the FA Cup winner is either City or it's basically City. If City win the FA Cup, then 6th and 7th will be Europa League. And if Liverpool win the Carabao Cup, then 8th will be Conference League.
Yeah. Okay, so what best comes to... So basically, best case scenario for us to finish without the Europa, just by the league position, best case scenario for Europe is 8th in Conference League, pretty much, because we ain't finishing above that.
Yeah, essentially. That's probably, through the league, that would be the only route.
And for that, we need Liverpool to win the Carabao Cup, and we need
City to win the FA Cup.
City to win the FA Cup, or Forest.
Well, it depends. If Newcastle win the Carabao and finish finish in that top 6 or something, then they'll drop down anyway. But
I actually think Newcastle can finish in the top 5 this season. I don't see a reason why not.
yeah, I mean they have lost 3 of their last 4, so maybe their form is dipping a bit. But I think they're a good team. They can. Yeah, I mean I think they could potentially. I think they're probably better than Chelsea and Bournemouth, to be honest. So when they're at their best, I also think their squad is not as good as those squads though. So
yeah. But look, let's move on and let's go to our player ratings. 1-0 win against Manchester United. Starting off with Vicario. 8s all round for Big Vic. And when Paul Coyton read his name out on the tannoy just before the game when he was doing the lineups, it was such a massive cheer, such a relief seeing Vicario back, because Kinski, you know, he let in a few easy goals, didn't he, over the last couple of weeks. And I felt like if Kinski was in goal yesterday, we probably would have conceded. I felt like Vicario was such a safe pair, such a strong pair of hands. I don't know how many saves he made on the day, but quite a few of them were really good saves. And I just felt like it just gave us that bit of leadership at the back. He was constantly shouting at his back four that maybe Kinski doesn't do. And I thought from crosses as well, you know, he was commanding his box pretty well. So really good return to action for Vicario.
Yeah, he made 6 saves on the day, and I thought just looked so comfortable. In fact, SofaScore actually gave him man of the match, Vicario.
Not surprised.
I thought he was fantastic. His handling was absolutely brilliant throughout the game. I thought some of the saves he had to make were some of the outstanding, especially that one low down to his right where Garnacho looked to fire into the near post, that bottom corner. I thought was a brilliant one-handed save to tip that wide. Made a good one-handed save from Garnacho again on the edge of the box where he's looking for the far corner. I thought that was a more simple save. But then he had to make some of those saves where he just makes himself big, gets a strong arm to it, and, you know, a lot of the time they look like simple saves. They look like, oh, it's just been hit at him. But then you look at the Kinski goal he conceded against Villa, and you realise that it's, you know, easier said than done. Those kind of things, like just consistently making yourself strong and big and making sure the ball doesn't go through you. Because we saw one shot straight at Kinski and he went straight through him, and it was a goal. And Vicario. This is what I was saying about Vicario. How often does he let in a goal where you think, oh, he should really save it? He should have saved that. Usually it has to be a very good shot to get past him. And I thought yesterday, United, they put some good efforts in, but none of them were good enough to beat him because he was on great form. And it was just really great to have him back. And I thought marshalled the defence really well as well. Came well running out of his goal. Yeah, it was really positive. Didn't overcomplicate things with the ball at his feet, but didn't have to.
Yeah. 100%. Really good to have him back. Next up, Pedro Porro. 7s all round for Pedro. And I think the week's rest did him the world of good. He's played the most amount of minutes, I think, in anyone in Europe's top 6 league, which is crazy. And he had a really good game yesterday. I felt like he was getting on the ball and creating for us really well in certain amounts. And, you know, from a defensive standpoint, you know, 4 tackles, 3 interceptions, 2 clearances. So those numbers are strong. But for the chance that Garnacho had in the first half, he kind of went missing a little bit, dawdling into the centre of the park. But I thought for the most part, he did himself some really good justice yesterday, because a lot of people have been saying he's not having a good season. But from an offensive standpoint, it was much better yesterday than it has been maybe over the last couple of months.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking at his heat map and you can see it's very concentrated in the United half. So that goes to show how much higher he was like pushing forward, I think, in this game, maybe compared to recent weeks. I think people have noticed he's been asked to kind of be a bit more reserved and maybe be a bit more of his own in his own half. But I thought in this game, maybe it was because he was a lot fresh and all these things, but he was definitely a lot more offensive. 3 key passes on the day. So again, back to that chance creation machine that we know he can be. He completed 4 crosses as well. Won 6 of his 10 duels. So I thought it was quite an energetic and a very positive display from Pedro Porro, and I definitely think the rest did him really good. But as you say, I think when you look at the chance for Garnacho, Porro's nowhere to be seen. Actually, look at where he is. He's charging down Bruno, who played the through ball. And I think we just got to be better organised. I also think that comes from Tottenham losing the ball in their build-up play. And when that happens, that's why teams press high, because when you win the ball back in those positions, it means that the opposition defence is going to be disorganised. And that's obviously what happened. But I think Porro jumping into Bruno in that instance, I think, was a bit of a silly decision.
Let's move in to Ben Davis. 7s all round for Benny, and really good display from him. I thought the back 2 worked really well together, him and Danso, and he was there was one moment when he kind of like misjudged the flight of the ball and it went over his head. But apart from that, I thought he did himself a good service as well yesterday. 5 clearances, 1 block shot, 1 tackles, and a key pass in there as well. I mean, there was 1 header off the line as well from Ben Davis, which was brilliant to see. And he was being aggressive, you know, going into the central areas of the pitch as well. So I really liked Ben Davis's performance yesterday.
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good. I thought he made some clever fouls as well. One of them he got booked for, which I think tried to stop a Man United attack. Actually, they went on to have that attack, and he got booked after, but he tried to stop it at source. But I thought that one moment in the first half was pretty poor from him, where he loses the tracking run of Højlund. He tries to put his body in the way of him. He's not even running towards the ball, and by the time he looks, would see where Højlund is. Højlund's pretty much at the ball, and he doesn't even realise it. So that could have cost us.
He was so upset with himself after that. I don't know if you saw his reaction to it, but he's just like, oh, fuck's sake.
Yeah, he knows he's screwed up in that moment, but obviously he recovered from it because he cleared that shot away from Dalot in that same move. And I think after that, Højlund very rarely got the better of him or got a run on him, and I think he kind of adjusted after that period. And I thought got a lot of good clearances, was doing the basics correctly. On the ball was decent as well, nothing amazing, but was decent. So I think a solid display from Ben Davies.
Kevin Danso up next, 8s all round for Danso, and I thought he put in a monstrous display, to be honest. And the amount of challenges he was putting in, and he seems like he's got the recovery pace to really. I think he's got better recovery pace than someone like Cuti Romero, to be honest. And he was putting in those sliding challenges quite often, goal-saving challenges. He's built like an ox. He's so strong, winning his duels on the day. And the way he just marauds into the centre of the park as well. So he likes to have that risk element about him of just being able to charge through the centre of the park. And not many times he was getting picked up, but he's always an option there when Spurs are on the attack. So I think he could be a good player for us.
Yeah, I'm liking the look of him. I think his bravery really suits us. I think that was something that Andrew really liked about him. His bravery to step into certain positions when we're on the ball, where other centre-backs would maybe be a bit more reserved and wouldn't attack the space like he does, but he's a bit fearless in that instance. There was that one moment where he takes the ball, he runs to the right-hand side, he does a 1-2 of Pedro Porro, continues his run down the line and supports the attack. And I think I was just imagining like Dragusin ever attempting that, and I'm thinking that would never happen. And I think he's very positive with the ball at his feet. I think in this game he probably kept it a bit more simple than he has in the past few games, but he's still a very positive player, very aggressive player. Again, another one Højlund struggled to deal with in that one moment where Højlund was looking like he was going to get an on goal, and Danso made that challenge, was really, really important. I think in the air, really good, very, very aggressive in the air. So I'm liking the look of him. I think he's made a positive start.
Yeah. Jed Spence up next, our man of the match. 9s all round for Jed, and what a performance this was. He owned that left-hand side, it's safe to say. I think he won pretty much every duel, maybe apart from one that he contested on the day. He was so dominant, getting up and down the pitch, driving into the space where no one else was really willing to do that, and he took it upon himself to show that risk element and just to really, whenever he sees any sort of space, just drive into it. And the Man U players couldn't handle him, particularly Mazraoui. He was Mazraoui is going to be having sleepless nights about Jed Spence, and this guy is really kind of elevating himself into a player that can't be dropped at the moment.
Yeah, 100%. I think he's not controversial to say he's probably our most informed player at the moment. I think every game he seems to be getting better and better, and it doesn't matter what test you put in front of him, he seems to be passing at flying colours. And I thought in this game, on the ball, was probably his best performance in a Tottenham shirt. The way he was able to weave in and out of United players, attack that space that opened up in front of him, like charge into it without a second thought, without a moment's hesitation. He was attacking that space, and United just didn't know how to deal with it, and it committed so many of the United players to kind of close that space down, and he was able to really ruthlessly exploit it. I thought he was even able to create some chances in the final third as well, with some really good balls into the area. But I thought best of all was his dribbling ability in tight spaces, where especially in his own half, where it looks like at points we were in trouble, he was being pressed and he didn't really have too many outballs, and all of a sudden he would just drag it past Mazraoui or roll the ball and use his strength to hold him off, and he just couldn't deal with it. And as you say, Dalot and Mazraoui are two pretty decent fullbacks who are known for their good defensive solidity, and Spence made them look like very average players and very poor fullbacks, and he was looking like a world-class winger at times with some of his dribbling ability. So really, really positive game again, and he keeps going from strength to strength, so really happy for him.
He was born to play for Spurs.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we got another Bell on our hands.
Let's move on to Rodrigo Bentancur. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6. I thought, look, let's get it out there. I think he was a lot better in this game than he has been in the past couple of games. I've been very critical of his performances against against Liverpool and against Aston Villa. I do think this was a step in the right direction. He was a lot more creative, using the ball a lot better in certain situations. But then again, in other situations, I felt like he lacked a bit of care on the ball. I don't think he was as combative in the middle of the park, maybe as he has been maybe in the past. But I think it was a good from Ange to take him off when he did, because we were kind of losing a bit of authority in the middle of the park.
Well, clearly he had a knock because his knee was iced on the bench. But I agree. I think he could have done some more stuff on the ball, off the ball. Sorry, I thought on the ball he was actually pretty good, and I thought he was moving the ball quickly and directly, and it led to Tottenham. Kind of, I thought when Bentancur had the ball,
turns in there,
yeah, and I think when he gets on the ball, I think when he plays those direct passes very quickly, they can be quite accurate, and I think that was good. I thought as well, a number of times the ball was played into the middle park from the goalkeeper, and he was winning the header, and he was really dominant in the air, which was really positive. I thought off the ball though, again, he struggled sometimes to deal with Bruno. I thought Bruno at times was getting the better of him, and he kind of struggled to contain him, because I thought Bruno actually had quite a big influence on the game. So that was a bit disappointing, but I think by and large, positive performance from Bentancur.
Lucas Bergvall up next, 7s all round for Lucas, and he was just a bundle of energy in that first half. Casemiro did not know where he was on the pitch at all. I mean, Casemiro was pretty much just chasing Bergvall's shadow for that whole of that first half, and it was a joy to behold. He was a key part of how dominant, or how the element of control we had in the middle of the park particularly. And yeah, I don't think it was maybe as strong on the ball that we have seen in the past, but the way he just gets the ball and just drives forward and drives through the heart of their midfield, I love to see it. And he did tire towards in the second half, and he got taken off. But for that first half, I thought he played really well.
Yeah, the guy plays like he's ice skating. It's something really interesting to witness, because the way he picks up the ball and just glides past him. You look at him, you don't even think he's moving that quickly, and all of a sudden you're seeing Man United players slipping and sliding to get near him, and I think it's just the way he adjusts his body, his movement. It's hard to track, and it's hard to get near. And he is such a great ball manipulator in that kind of part of the game. And I think he's an exceptional ball carrier, ball dribbler, and I think he's showing that week in week out at the moment. I thought when he got in the final third, he was looking to create things. He was looking positive. I thought defensively, we know how combative he is. He likes to stick a boot in. I did think he had a bit of less influence in the second half than he did in the first. But I also think in the first half, we would just pass the ball into him, and he would just glide past whatever player was near him and advance the ball forward. And that was really, really great to see.
And he didn't get booked.
In this game. Another step in the right direction.
James Maddison up next, 8s all round. Great to see Maddison back in the starting 11, and he ran the show in the first half. He was the hub of the team. He had so much space in the middle of the park. Man United were just affording him all this space, and he was able to strut his stuff and pretty much do what he wanted. He got on the score sheet with a nice late run into the box, off Onana's kind of parry. But it wasn't just that. I thought he was creative. He was combative. Everything that you wanted to see from Maddison coming back into the starting 11. And in the second half, he didn't really come out like he was in the first half, but I just assume, and I'm just going to put that down to him being out for the last 3 weeks and coming back straight into the starting 11. So good start from Maddison. Let's hope to see more of the same.
Definitely, and really great to see him coming back from injury in such a sharp way, in a really confident mood, and not really take time to settle back into the team. I thought he looked like he'd never been away. I know it hasn't been out for long, but I think it was really great for him to start in the game the manner he did, the way he took the ball, kind of those little flicks around certain players, whether it be Mazraoui or Casemiro, and driving into the space like he did. He looked creative. That he played one unbelievable pass. It was in the middle of the pitch to Son out wide. Unbelievable. That bent it in behind, and it created a chance for Tell in the end. Unbelievable. That's what the kind of quality he's capable of. No one else, I think, in our team, maybe Porro, no one really else is capable of that kind of pass, really, especially in midfield, I think, in our team. And that's why we need him to keep that place in the team, because he just has that star ability and star quality. And when he's in the mood he was in yesterday in that first half, he's almost impossible to stop. And obviously he got the goal. It was an easy goal, but you still need to keep making that run. You still need to gamble on the ball falling to you, and he did that. And got his rewards for it with the simple finish. I like the bit of shithousery, silencing Roy Keane and all that kind of stuff, and that was really good to see. And I like when Maddison's got the fire in his belly like that, because I think it leads to a bit more from him. I think when you poke him a bit, you get a reaction from Maddison. So did tie in the second half, but he still made that really big challenge on Bruno just before he got taken off, and I thought he kind of worked really hard for the team, and I think it was the right decision because he's just come back and he needs to settle back into the team, but and get those minutes. But yeah, really encouraging return for Maddison.
Yeah, and that's 9 goals now and 4 assists, 13 goal contributions in 23 games for Tottenham this season. I believe Cole Palmer is the only midfielder in the Premier League that's got more goals than him.
I've said before, I think because of how poor we've been for a lot, and I think Maddison as well has had poor games, but I think he gets kind of people just start this narrative that he's had a poor season and he's not been good. Like, I'm being pretty consistent. I think he's been pretty good this season overall. Yes, he's had poor games and it's frustrating, and also when he has games where maybe he's not quite at his best, and we hold him to a very high standards, and rightly so, because we know what he's capable of. But I think there's this narrative that he's had a poor season, as in like he hasn't played well, and I just disagree. I just don't think he's been bad.
His best goal-scoring return is for Leicester in 21-22, 12 goals. I mean, he's on track to smash that.
Well, he's on 9 at the moment, so I think he will. I think he'll beat that for sure.
He did get 20 goal contributions in that season, though. I don't know if he'll get that.
He's only got 4 assists. But
Yeah.
So what? He's got 13. I wouldn't put it past him. But he needs he needs to go on quite a run. But look, maybe this break's done him well.
Let's hope so. And let's move on to Decky. Sim gives him a 6, as do I. I think as well, I did think the energy levels were better from Decky than we have seen in previous weeks. I think like when you're talking about pure physicality, though, I think he was failing more times than not. I think the stat is like he contested about 15 or 16 ground duels and ended up winning only 2 of them, which is something you really don't associate with Dejan Kulusevski. But I felt like he was always in the game. He was always providing an outlet for us. He provided a few moments of quality in terms of chance creation. And even in the last minute of the game, he was busting a gut to get forward as well, which shows like some sort of energy levels are there. But I still think it's not the Decky that we have seen in the first part of the season. And I still think that he could, it'll do him the world of good just to give him a bit of rest.
Yeah, I think definitely, again, wasn't his best performance for sure. We've seen him play a lot better than we did yesterday, but I did think it was probably a bit better than what we saw at Anfield. I think he probably played better at Villa Park, to be honest, than he did yesterday. But I think he did still create chances. He's still kind of a nuisance for Man United. I think there was some occasions as well late in the game when we were breaking away and he was making good runs, and I think he was making good runs and he wasn't being picked out. I thought the decision making was pretty poor from some of the other players in that period. I think his decision making at times wasn't great as well. There was a time where we had a 4-on-4. All he had to do was lay it back for Son, and instead he kind of went for the shot himself, and it wasn't a great effort, and the chance was gone. So I think that has to be better. But we know what he's capable of. He hasn't been in his best form for a while now, so something I don't know whether it means we have to get him in the middle a bit more consistently, or he needs a break.
He needs a break. I think it's clear for everyone to see the guy needs a break.
Yeah, but he had a week break. He should have been fresher. He was a bit fresher, but that should be enough to get you back, start getting you back to the levels. I hope anyway. But
I just think with the sheer effort and work rate that he puts in every game, I just feel like taking him out the firing line for a week, maybe even 2, and just get him back reinvigorated for the last stage of the season, particularly the Europa League.
Yeah, maybe we need to do that because again, he played 90 minutes.
To do it as well with Brennan Johnson and Maddison coming back now, so why not?
Yeah, we do have now, yeah. I think yesterday he played 90 minutes. Maddison needed to take a break. I think Bergval's also playing a lot, so he needed a rest, so he decided to keep Decky on. But I think Decky could do with a bit of a rest.
Let's move on to Sonny. Sim, we both give him a 6. I felt like he was actually doing pretty well in the first half. He was creating chances. He was providing a really good outlet for us. But then the second half, he just didn't come out as I thought he was pretty poor in the second half, to be honest, and couldn't really beat his man or provide any sort of impact for us. But I did like his performance in the first half, to be fair.
Yeah, I think I think he
4
did
key
create
passes on the game.
I think he did create a chance in that first half. A couple definitely for Tell, was involved in the first goal as well. I did think he was a continuous threat down when we got the ball to the left-hand side, and there was that one, he is becoming now an iconic Sonny turn where he puts his foot on the ball and quickly turns the other way when it looks like he's going to take the ball backwards. He kind of bamboozles the defender and goes on the outside, and he did that to Dallo once yesterday and got to the byline. So I thought in the first half I was pretty positive about it. I thought the second half wasn't great from him, especially in that last 20 minutes when a number of times we had breakaways and he was leading them and just was picking the wrong decision way too consistently, and the chances ended up being kind of wasted way too often, and that was quite frustrating from Son in that bit of the game. But I thought there was some good link up with him and Tell at points. I think that relationship's going to build. I think him and Spence had some good parts, and him and Maddison as well. So I thought first half I was pretty positive. Just needs to make better decisions in those moments.
Yeah, let's move on to Matisse Tell. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 7. I don't know what it is, but I seem to be a lot more positive on this Tell performance than a lot of other people, and I felt like he was making the right runs. He was getting involved in the game. He was heavily involved in so many of our attacks. And yeah, he should be ending the game with a goal. Don't get me wrong. But I felt like he's always on the move, which, a lot of our players weren't. And a lot of our players were way too static yesterday. But Tell, he was always on the move. He was good in his pressing situations. I think the only thing that was missing really was a goal from his game yesterday. And if he would have put the ball in the back of the net in one of the many chances that he had, I think maybe a lot of people would probably be a lot more positive about him.
Yeah, he definitely worked really hard, and I think definitely showed flashes of quality. And I think for sure, I think his movement in the box is good. I think there was some really good stuff from him when the ball was played directly into him in the box, and he's got Maguire behind him and he's able to chest the ball down and even get a shot off when there's players around him. So I think that was really positive. Definitely not scared to shoot. I think definitely some of his shots lacked a bit of power and a bit of conviction, and it was too easily saved. And I also think definitely in the last 20 minutes when we had a series of counter-attacks, he was not making good decisions. There were some moments where he should have shot and he passed, and there were some moments where he should have passed and he shot, and he just couldn't get the decision right at times. And so some points he was too selfish, and some points he was not selfish enough, and that was quite frustrating. And I think if he had made the right decisions, again, we probably would have won the game a bit more comfortably than we did. But I definitely see what he's all about. I think physically, clearly he's ready for the Premier League and clearly can contribute here, and I think the quality is there. He just needs those little tweaks to go in his favour, and I think we've got a really good striker here. I think he's still clearly, still a bit raw, still got a lot of work to do to be the finished article, but I think you can clearly see the potential there.
Yeah, absolutely, and I feel like he's going to be a really exciting player for us. I like what I see from him so far. I do feel he's more suited in our system to the number 9 role than out wide, that's for sure, from what I've seen in these 2 games against Aston Villa and against Manchester United, albeit a much stronger Villa side than we saw from a United side. So maybe that comes into it as well. But let's go on to the subs. We're going to go for Brennan Johnson. Up 6s all round. Good to see him back, and I felt like he came on and he just started driving at that Man United defence, just driving, albeit not too much quality at the end of many of them, but it was just good to see someone come on and just have a go, really.
Yeah, I think he was a threat in that last bit of the game when we were counter-attacking. He was getting wide and stretching Man United a bit, but unfortunately the final pass was lacking quite a bit in this game and couldn't quite create the chances that he should have done in the positions he took off. So that was quite frustrating, but I thought came on, worked really hard, helped out the defence as well, got on position. You could see he was tactically, very useful. So I thought it was a decent cameo, but nothing special.
And Pape Matar, 6s all round as well. Another energetic display, gave us more presence in the middle of the park, and also was fairly creative with his passing as well. 2 key passes on the day. So nice little cameo from Sarr.
Yeah, I think added the energy that we were lacking for that little period of the game where United seemed to take control of the game for a bit at the beginning of the second half. But I thought he did really well with just adding that little boost of energy. Actually, we took a bit of control back once he came on, but then we seemed to give up again quite late in the game and we nearly drew. But I thought, good cameo from Sarr.
And the player that we're not going to give a rating to that I just want to mention is Wilson Odobert, who came on for the last, 5 minutes, including stoppage time. And I felt, again, like he came on and just showed the rest of the strikers what the dribbling ability is actually all about, because he was actually willing to take on his man and did it quite successfully. And I'm so excited now after that little 5-minute cameo to see Odebear play some more minutes for us.
Yeah, and I think you just get the feeling if he was on for a bit longer, he really could have done some more damage to Man United, because I thought every time he got the ball, they couldn't touch him. He was, again, running past them like they weren't there. I think him against tired legs is going to be a really useful asset to have. And I think it was a shame he wasn't able to... So, it was really frustrating. He would go past the player and then the pass would be slightly wrong, or he wouldn't really, no one was on his wavelength in terms of attacking the space. So I think that comes with time. It was only a 5-minute cameo, but I think you could see already in that 5 minutes what he's capable of and what he can bring to this team. So really delighted to have him back. He's felt so bad for him, the fact that he came, to really make an impact, was starting games and got that long injury. And let's hope that he can keep going from strength to strength now.
Yeah, it's mad to think about it. That's only his 4th Premier League appearance for Spurs. Mm-hmm. And, we got him as this signing in the summer, and he was supposed to be, massive for us in terms of rotation option on the wings. And, yeah, it's been a massive disappointment in terms of the injuries that he got and the reoccurrence of the injury. But hopefully we can keep him back now and we can keep him fit and see what he's all about from now to the end of the season. And I think he'll have a good relationship with Tell on the pitch, being, friends from a young age. I think they'll have some sort of chemistry about them. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, Ange Postecoglou, 7s all round for Big Ange. And we got the win, 2 back-to-back wins in the Premier League, 2 back-to-back clean sheets in the Premier League, and our first clean sheet in the Premier League since August at home, which is mad to think about. August! Crazy. And I think we deserve the win. And I think some of the changes that he made throughout the game, some of them forced, some of them good managing and good game management from Ange. And look, it wasn't the greatest performance and it wasn't scintillating stuff for the most part, but I do think we were the better team. We controlled the game for the most part, and we deserve the 3 points. So he's got to get the credit for that. And look, these players coming back, 5 new players to add into the squad this week, is a massive source of relief for him, for us, for everyone. And let's just hope we can kick on from here.
Yeah, I think he did have a few. Finally, he had some decisions to make this weekend. I think he did get them right. Does he throw Vicario straight back in? He did, and he put in a top performance. Does he throw Doggy straight back in, or does he stick with Spence? He stuck with Spence, and it paid off. And I think Spence was man of the match. James Maddison, the plan was probably only play him for an hour. Does he throw him straight back in? He did, and obviously that paid off as well. So I think his team selection finally, definitely paid off. And I thought we got the balance right. I thought it was a lot more coordinated. Still conceding too many sloppy chances, and there's a lot to work on when it comes to our build-up. I think still way too many times the ball's at our centre-back's feet and he doesn't have anywhere near enough options. And I see way too often people are running away from him and looking for a ball over the top or looking to run into space rather than coming towards him and helping him out and allowing an easy pass. And that is something we have to work on, because it puts us in trouble too much. And I think that's definitely on Ange to fix. But I definitely saw improvements. I definitely saw a better coordinated press. I definitely saw a lot more energy. And let's just hope these players coming back now can really give us a shot in the arm we need to go on a bit of a run now and improve our league form and maybe give it our best shot in Europa League. And I think there was evidence of improvement. There was evidence to show that things can get better. Was there enough evidence to say that we're back and we're going to be flying yet? No, but definitely a step in the right direction. And sometimes when you're in the run of form that we're in, you just need a win to end that, and then all of a sudden the belief can start to flow through you again. And let's hope that starts to happen. But yeah, I think Ange managed the game pretty well and got the win.
Yeah. All right, well, that is our player ratings for the 1-0 win against Manchester United. Let's move on and see what 5 things we did learn from the game. And first up is Spence for England. Thomas Tuchel, are you watching?
Is he watching? Because Spence had an unbelievable game. The stats read it himself. 3 out of 4 dribbles completed for Jed Spence. 7 out of 8 ground duels won. 2 key one key pass on the day as well. when it comes to the amount of tackles. 2 tackles, 2 block shots, 1 intercept, 1 clearance, and that one of the block shots as well was from that Hoyland chance where he could have easily have scored. 2 fouls as well, completed 2 of his 4 crosses. He also had a 91% passing accuracy as well, so didn't really give the ball away too often. I thought he was really fantastic, both on and off the ball. So hard to deal with for Man United, dribbling. And as well, you got to remember he's playing on his weaker side. He usually... obviously, he prefers to be on the right side and usually a bigger attacking threat. But I thought on this occasion, on the left, was just as much of a threat. And I think he's really adjusted well to that side now. And makes you think how good he can be once he moves back to right back as well. But with England lacking left backs right now, Shaw's injured. Chilwell can't play a game at the moment. He's now on loan at Palace.
He played on the weekend. Chilwell,
played on the. I think he might come on. He didn't start.
Yeah, he came on.
I think England are definitely lacking a player in that position. Maybe Spence can put his hat in the ring.
I think he definitely can. And in terms of him adjusting to the left back role, he seems to be getting better week in, week out, as he's learning the role. He's learning on the job, isn't he, at left back, and he seems to be flourishing and getting better as the weeks progress. But in terms of him, can he be a left back for England? I don't see why not. I think there's 2 players that can probably get called up for England, and that is him and Lewis Skelly. I think both of them should be probably getting called up for England in the international break in March and seeing how they do. Because, who else is going to play left back? And these are 2 really good options, and 2 of them are performing out of their skin at the moment.
Absolutely. So I think Spence maybe, really could have a chance. And it's mad to think about, beginning of the season, even a few months ago, when he wasn't playing too much. And now we're talking about him potentially having an England call up, an England shout, how things have changed for him. So delighted for him.
Yeah, Lewis Hall, people are saying in the comments as well.
Lewis Hall, yeah,
he's another one.
Got Mitchell.
England got a few left backs sprouting out of nowhere.
I think Spencer's probably playing better than Hall at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still so boggled as to why Spence never played hardly any minutes in the first half of the season. It just doesn't make sense, does it?
Well, when you see him playing now, but you got to remember, this is a player who a lot of managers he kind of fell out with, and a lot of managers he complained about his attitude problems. So maybe it was about earning trust.
Yes, I agree with you, but first of all, in pre-season he was brilliant, and all the way from pre-season up until he got his chance, and stayed consistent in saying, he's doing everything right, his attitude is spot on. The loan at Genoa obviously did him the world of good, and Genoa must be kicking themselves not signing him, because he could have gone there for like 4 million or something crazy like that.
I don't think he was this good at Genoa though.
No.
Yeah, he's been. I think he's really taken up a notch.
I think what he's done at Genoa, I think it made him grow up a little bit and made him, his head screwed on now, isn't it?
Definitely seems that way.
Yeah. Number 2 is Vic and Madder's return. Great to see.
Yeah, and I think what an impact both these guys made, I think, on the pitch, not just from their performance level, which was really high. I think the leadership in terms of them talking to the younger players, walking from, helping them throughout the game. I think them stepping up in the big moments as well. Vicario making some crucial saves, which I think Kinski has struggled at times to make those kind of saves in big moments in these games. And as well, he really played with authority. He's a loud voice in that dressing room and in the team. Really great to have him back. And I think Maddison really stepped up in that midfield. And these are players. Maddison's been missing for 3 weeks. Vicario's been missing ever since we lost to City. We've got to remember he probably had just had his best game in a Tottenham shirt, and we had probably had our best result in the Premier League for a long time in that game, and he got injured after that game. And I think maybe we've missed him than a lot of people give us credit for, because I know Forster's had some good games and Kinski's done well, but
Austin as well
has had some decent games. But I think we have really missed Vicario and his shot-stopping ability, and maybe as well just that leadership ability he has. And I think maybe yesterday was showed that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think none of these goalkeepers you're talking about can touch Vicario at all in terms of shot-stopping. So I think you definitely have a good point there. And the leadership as well, like Maddison and Vicario make 2 out of the 4 in the leadership group, right? With Romero and Sonny being the other 2. And everyone's been complaining about the lack of leadership and the leadership void in the team. over the last couple of months. And, you know, Maddison's missed a big chunk or a chunk, and Vicario's not been there at all. So
And Romero's not been there at all.
Romero's not been there at all. And basically the brunt has been on Sonny. But it's a team, right? It's a leadership group. It's not just Sonny he is the leader, he is the captain, but it's on other players as well. It's not just on him to show that signs of leadership. And when you're missing a big chunk of the leadership group and the players that can really grab you by the scruff of the neck and kind of see you through games with such a young squad, I think it makes a big difference. And I think we saw that yesterday, because Vicario yesterday was like non-stop shouting at his back four, non-stop telling players where to be and barking out the orders. And I think when you're looking at the leadership group and when you're looking at who has probably the best kind of leadership abilities, I probably think it is Vicario.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Odebear's cameo.
Yeah, and it was only, I think, 5 minutes of normal time plus 3 minutes stoppage time, I think, for Odebear. But I think he's in the little cameo he played, he did show quite a bit of that ability. In fact, he won 2 out of 3 ground duels in that time, and he also completed 2 dribbles, which was actually only Spence, I think. One sec. Only Spence completed more dribbles than Odebear did throughout the whole game, and Odebear was only on for 3 minutes. I think that goes to show you what kind of dribbling ability he does have, and I think it probably that little 5-minute cameo was really exciting, probably one of the most exciting things of the game, because he just got with the ball, ran with it, and ran into the space, and the United players couldn't catch him. And I know it was tired legs, but I think it also goes to show his quick feet, his that dribbling ability that I think we've been missing all season, which I think we brought him in for. And let's hope from now to the end of the season we can really take advantage of that. And I know it was only 5 minutes, but we haven't seen much of him, obviously, in a Tottenham shirt. And so he's come back from injury, and I think it was a little sign of things to come in that 5-minute cameo, hopefully.
It's almost like a new signing, Wilson Odebear.
Probably it really does kind of feel like it, let's be honest.
Yeah, because it's his 4th game in the Premier League. You're like, wow, like the likes of Tell, well, he's played more in cup competitions. So, I mean, like Danso and Tell have played nearly the same amount as Odebear, which is crazy to think about. But, no, he's just so nimble on the ball, isn't he? And he's like a ballerina when he gets on the ball, because you don't know which way he's going to go, left or right. And he's just able to take on his man. And I think in terms of dribbling ability and being able to just sheerly just take on your man, he's probably our best winger than we've got in that aspect.
Yeah, so I think he's going to have a big part to play between now and the end of the season. And all of a sudden, we've gone from, you know, struggling for players in the wide area. Now all of a sudden you've got Brennan back, you've got Odebear back, and now Tell's there. And all of a sudden, once if Solanke or Richarlison, or once Solanke comes back, you're going to have loads of options to choose from, and hopefully we can start to come up, we can start to pick players based on the opposition rather than who's available and who can actually get out there and play.
Yeah. Number 4 is Worth the Wait.
And that comes from the home win. It's our first home win since November. It's been 3 months. I think it's been 7 games at home.
Has it really been worth the wait?
That's the question.
No, it hasn't.
Was it worth the wait?
3 months just to get a win against a failing Man United team at
beat
home.
Man United 1-0. We beat the first treble over Man United since the 20s.
Shameless.
Obviously we've struggled badly at home for a number of months, and very much that we needed to stop the rot and we needed to get that win over the line at home in the league, and it's been way too long since we got it. But was it worth the wait? I'll let people decide. Did El Crapico live up to its name?
Yeah, it
probably did. It wasn't a great game of football quality-wise.
Nah, it wasn't. And I think you saw it was 2 teams low on confidence, playing against each other. I do think we were the better team on the day, and we deserved the win. But to say it's worth the wait, I mean, I hope we don't have to wait 3 months for another home win again.
Let's hope so.
But, definitely not worth the wait, because, look, I'm delighted that we won, but we should have got a lot more points on the board at home in the last 3 months, even with the injury crisis. So, great to win, but definitely not worth the wait, because this has been a long time coming. But number 5 is change for Tottenham.
Yeah, and obviously this goes to the protest that happened before the game. A really great turnout for the protest against the board, which was around, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 people turning up to the protest, and really great coverage as well, I think, of the protest from a lot of media companies, and definitely a massive kind of change in how the protests had been approached and how they were planned, and you could see the amount of people who wanted their voices heard, and maybe it's one step in the direction of getting change, is the amount of people that turned up for this protest.
Yeah, I hope so. And like I keep saying when I talk about it, I just hope it's a building block, and hope that this can gather a bit of momentum now, and fans can really make their voices heard. By God, they really did make their voices heard yesterday. There was one point when they gathered outside the West Stand. You saw Donna Cullen scurrying in. But look, it was great to see. It was great to see the amount of people that turned up, and let's just hope that we can build on it from here. And 1,500 to 2,000 this time. Let's hope it's 2,500 to 3,000 next time, and we can just keep building, because there is a sense in the, I think more than ever before, that Daniel Levy and Enoch, we need change and we need to move on. And I think that you're seeing that in the protests, and you're seeing that in away-ends week in, week out, really. So, and even at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, there's just a growing sense of the tide is definitely turning. So that is it. That is your 5 takeaways from the game. 1-0 against Manchester United. And let's finish off on reacts. Let's go and see how the internet did react to the game yesterday.
Not finish off, yeah.
Sorry?
Is it finish off, not finishing?
Got to do a review, I guess, the Prem.
Oh, we're not going anywhere just yet, people. We're not going anywhere just yet. But we're going to start off. Well, our next segment is react. So let's react to how the internet looked at the game. And first up is THFC report. Tell after the game. Yeah, he was knackered after the game.
This is nice, though. Nice. He seems to be getting integrated with the team.
Oh, he's got something different on his screen.
Oh.
Well, now let's go and see how the internet did react. And this was Tell after the game. And actually, just before this, I was actually watching him, and he just dropped. He dropped to the ground after the game, and he was on the floor for a good minute. He was knackered, and he ran his socks off for the team yesterday.
He did. He worked super hard, and you can see the appreciation of his teammates after the game. Give him a hug. He seems to have acclimatized well in the dressing room, which is really great, especially coming from a team like Bayern Munich. It could have been easy for him to be a bit have a bit of arrogance and be a bit of a big head, but he seems to have acclimatized well. People seem to have taken to him.
Yeah, and he seems to have a really good camaraderie with his teammates already, which is great to see.
Which is what we heard. I can't remember who said it, but I think it might have been Plettenberg. But he said he's known actually for having a really good attitude, and actually he's quite popular in the Bayern dressing room.
Yeah, and Kane said it as well about how much of a hard worker he is. So a few different pieces of evidence. Next up is quotes from Decky on Vicario, and he says, "I'm a huge fan of Vicario, huge fan. His energy is unmatched. He is fantastic. I told him, when you come back, the whole stadium needs to feel it. That's what he does. He's an unbelievable goalkeeper. He made a couple of saves, and so with him back, it's a big player." And I kind of agree with that. And you said in the 5 takeaways, I think it was, we maybe didn't realise how much we missed him until he's come back. But I feel like in the past couple of weeks, I think we're all probably feeling that we're missing Vicario.
Definitely. And I think he's been pretty good this season. He's been in great form, and I think he's such a loud voice, and he gives so much energy to the team. And obviously he's a fantastic shot stopper, and he makes such fantastic saves, and I think he really helps probably organise the back line a bit better than the other goalkeepers that we have. And I think he's a big influence on the team, and I think Decky clearly realises that, and I think he's a big influence in the dressing room. I think he's probably missed in the dressing room as well.
Absolutely. And you saw him every time when he was injured on the sidelines, he was basically acting as a second manager at times.
Yeah.
And you could just see how desperate he was to get back on.
Even when other people wanted him to sharp, you can tell the coaching staff, he couldn't help himself.
Yeah. Next up is Vicario on Instagram, a selfie of him and Mickey van der Ven saying he misses me so much.
Yeah, well, us too. We miss Mickey. Let's hope he's the next one on the line.
Yeah, let's hope so. This next one is tail after the game. That's the same video. So we'll move down to Cuti Romero celebrating James Maddison's goal.
Got him and Richarlison there, you can see on the bench. Romero a bit more active. Maybe Richarlison not wanting to re-injure himself, but he sprung out quite very quickly there, Romero. You can see that. Maybe the calf's getting better.
Of everyone that I was seeing on the sidelines there, Romero seems to be more fully coised than any of them.
Yeah, come on. Who else? Is anyone else there? Can't tell.
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
Only Richarlison and some coaches, I think.
Brilliant. So that's great to see Romero celebrating. A lot of people saying they haven't seen him on the bench, but he was there yesterday.
Yeah. Fresh out of Qatar, apparently.
He made it in time for the game.
Yeah.
Angry Ginge saying, yeah,
exactly.
he was there.
Yeah. Johnny H saying 1,700 is what I predicted, but the reports of being 500 are just troublemakers. Some on my timeline calling me delusional. It was only a handful. This is just the beginning.
Yeah, it was definitely more than 500. It was probably triple that.
Yeah.
That's probably closer to the real figure.
Up to Joe saying 2. Tottenham have won back-to-back Premier League games versus Brentford and Manchester United for just the second time this season. Also in September was versus Brentford and Manchester United.
Can we play Brentford and Man United every week? That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So we'll win every game. But yeah, it's the first time since September. God, it's
been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while. Let's make it 3 in a row. Come on.
Fun fact from StatMuse says Tottenham have played 5 games versus Manchester teams this season, 3 versus Man United, 2 versus Man City, and they've won all 5. So maybe we should be wanting to play Manchester teams every week.
Come on, we're the Manchester Killers.
Squawker, these are Jed Spence games by numbers. Most final third entries in the game, 9. Most duels won, 6. Most shots blocked, 2. Most successful take-ons, 2. Most fouls won, 2. 4 times possession, 1. 2 tackles. And 0 times dribble pass.
And look at that heat map as well. You can see very concentrated in the United half.
Yeah,
like he was very high up, and I thought he was just phenomenal. Very brave. It was just a near perfect fullback performance from him. It was so great.
Jacko Katz saying, I don't think in my life a player has proved me wrong more than Jed Spence. I always knew he was a talent, but I had no confidence in his mentality and his growth as a player. Now he looks like a top player, putting a player like Porro into huge pressure. As a fan of Porro, I won't be mad if Pedro loses his spot for Jed. I've already apologised, but I will again. Now I'm a believer of Jed. So happy that his potential didn't get wasted. Huge credit to him and to Ange. And this is in response to Jacko. If you scroll down to this picture here, it says in 2024, so in December 2024, so not long ago, he says, Spence is not a good player. He did nothing to prove me wrong. I've been following him in his last loans, epitome of a mediocre player.
Jeez.
And then he says, the facts you say Spence is better than Porro worries me. And then he said, how can you all be brainwashed by a Twitter account? He made you believe Spence is our saviour.
Dare I say who that Twitter account is?
Yeah. Dare you?
Huh?
Go on.
No, I'm asking, is it the guy we're thinking of?
I don't know.
Makes bold and brash
It's
acclamations.
not. Apparently it's not him.
It's not him?
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah?
It could be.
Invert?
Yeah, he's not.
He's got to be
He's
invert.
not atted, but
It's got to be him.
invert never misses.
He
mate.
never misses.
He never misses.
God. He's a character.
One of
that's
a
for sure.
kind.
One of a kind. But yeah, look, I think Jed has proved a lot of people wrong. Not just people, not just fans, but managers as well. Not even managers at this club. Conte, other managers who else didn't use him. I guess it's Conte. Conte and who. Was he apart from Conte and Ange? Is that it? Is that always been?
He was signed under Conte.
He was signed under Conte. Other managers he's been on loan at didn't want to use him. So I think he's proved a lot of managers wrong so far. Look, he's got to keep it up. He's got to be consistent. But right now, he's playing at a very high level and probably the highest level of his career. And
for sure.
probably the best he's played since he had that run for Forest.
Yeah, and we were all so excited when we signed him because we saw that performance against Arsenal for Forest in the Cup where he completely tore them a new one. And we're finally starting to see what he's all about. And it's great.
And when it comes between him and Porro, I still think Porro, obviously, that passing ability is better than Jed. But I think what Jed has over him could really help plug that gap that we seem to have at the right, where he just has that recovery pace, which Porro doesn't have.
Yeah.
And so defensively, we probably look a bit more solid with him. And then going forward, we probably don't have the quality that Porro has, but he still has that ability to get to the byline, whip balls across the face of goal. Maybe not with the quality that Porro does, and also in build-up, he probably doesn't break through the opposition press with his passing, but he can probably break through it with his dribbling, which we've seen. So whatever he doesn't have with Porro's passing, he can make up for it in other areas, I think.
You know what, as well, like everyone, ever since we lost him, was pining to get back to that sort of dynamic duo of Danny Rose and Kyle Walker. And I feel like Destiny Udogie and Jed Spence will probably be the closest thing that we've had since, if we play both of them. Ollie Davis says, rather than criticising Ange for not playing Spence earlier, perhaps he deserves a lot of credit after failed loan moves and dismissed by plenty of managers. I would say that Ange has had him in training pretty much since the beginning of the season. He keeps praising him and he keeps overplaying players. So even when he did bring him on in certain amount of games, like the Coventry game and I think the Man United game at Old Trafford, and some other games on top of that, he showed a lot of good stuff on the pitch. So when he's had limited availability and limited chances in the opening stage of the season, I think even off the back of that, he earned more minutes and he just never got it.
Yeah, but does Ange not deserve any credit for the level that Spence is on now?
I think yes, but we should have seen this level a lot earlier in the season.
Yeah, that's fair. But as well, maybe it's a case of, just because he showed a good attitude in the summer, which is why Ange kept him on, it's still about proving you can do that over a longer period. Maybe he just had to earn the trust. It's
not just a good attitude in the summer, but he was one of our best performers in pre-season. And also, like I said, the cameo performances that he had, he kept us in the cup at Coventry, and every other time he came on the pitch, he's pretty much played well. So I don't think there was a reason to leave him out for as long as he did.
Maybe not, but I think as fans, when we're looking at performance level, probably not. But maybe behind the scenes, there are just things that he's done which he needs to earn the trust of everyone in terms of getting regular starts and stuff like that. And obviously, he's kind of been forced into it. And the way he's played has been absolutely brilliant. And the fact that he's, kept his head down and clearly his attitude has changed from since before the loan spell means that now that he's earned his chance and taken it with both hands, he's now reaping the benefits. But why he didn't get more maybe playing time at the beginning, I mean, look, other managers have not played him at all. So Ange was still playing him a bit. I know it was maybe not enough for our liking, but it was playing him a lot more than other managers were playing him. So I think I would like to have seen him a bit earlier and probably give him more time.
You're talking about though, really?
Well, the Leeds manager didn't like him.
The Leeds manager, when was that?
Last season.
He was at Genoa last season, or you mean the first part of last season?
Yeah, he came. They sent him back because he had bad attitude problems.
Yeah,
he said
true.
that. So this is
But he got consistent minutes at Genoa.
He got consistent minutes at Genoa, but I'm just saying, like, other managers have complained about attitude problems and things like that, and that's always something that's kind of followed him around. And maybe she had to show that his attitude had really changed before he started trusting him. Maybe that was the case.
But I mean, Ange always talked about, even in pre-season, about how good his attitude has been, and that was all the way back in pre-season. So if his attitude has been good ever since then, he was taken out the Europa League squad. And credit to Spence, with a player with a history of bad attitude, to get left out the Europa League squad where he probably felt that's where his minutes were going to come from, to keep your head screwed on and to keep going and to keep fighting and to be where he is now. I think credit to him. I do say credit to Ange for the level that he's playing at the moment, but I just feel like he should have been playing a lot earlier in the season, no doubt about it. And there was no reason to leave him out the Europa League squad either. Next up is Premier League. Jed Spence was busy up and down the left, and look at that heat map.
Yeah,
not the heat map, but touch map.
Yeah, a lot of prop for Spence here, but as you can see, was just getting the ball a lot in dangerous areas, and this is why United really struggled to contain him. Yeah. And I thought the inverted role really served him well yesterday, actually.
Next up is TNT Sport on Jed Spence. Most duels won, most shots blocked, most final third entry, most successful take-ons, wasn't dribbled past, and there's him with his Man of the Match award in the training room, the dressing room yesterday.
Just missing that cigar again.
Yeah, exactly.
When's he getting the cigar back out?
When we win a trophy. Henry Winter says, Spurs deserve this win. Hungrier and better organised than Manchester United, and Maddison clinical when it counted. Spence excellent, and Bergvall too.
Yeah, I think that was the reality for it. I think, yes, United had chances and they had periods, but I think by and large we were probably just that bit more organised and had that. I think we were a bit sharp and had that bit more quality on the day, and I think that was what the difference was.
Yeah. Maddison yesterday, these were the moments we were talking about before in terms of shithousery, and you just love to see it, don't you? Roy Keane, eat your heart out, mate.
Yeah, I wonder what Roy's saying. I'm sure Roy will be saying, "Oh, it's only Man United. There's only one game, blah blah blah." And he's probably right, to be honest. But Maddison was just not going to let that those words go unpunished, as they say.
Absolutely. Who Scored says Tottenham secure successive Premier League clean sheets for the first time since October 2023.
That was last season.
Yep.
Beginning of last season.
Which is mad.
Well, we got them now. Let's go for 3 in a row.
Let's go for 3 in a row, exactly. BBC Sports says Spurs are the first team to beat Man United 3 times in one season since Chelsea in 2012-2013. It's finished 1-0 to Tottenham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
12 Chelsea 12-20. That was under Rafa Benitez, I remember, for Chelsea, and United were under Fergie. So first time post Fergie, someone's done it. Come on.
Tottenham feed showing Solanke's Instagram when with Jed Spence saying, "What a player."
Fantastic. And that's also great that he's feeling the love from the teammates, and that goes a long way because it shows that in the dressing room, like, he's very popular, and I think if he didn't have a good attitude, maybe, he would rub people the wrong way, but it seems as though people are, liking him at the moment.
Absolutely. Change for Tottenham says, thank you for capturing the moments, and that's obviously to the live stream and everything like that we did yesterday of the protest. Hope you guys were watching. Hotspur Report says, Thomas Tuchel, are you watching? And then there's a stats about Jed Spence again. He's got to get the call, surely.
Come on, Tuchel. Make the call.
I think he'd be so good in a Tuchel system as well.
I agree, because Tuchel sometimes he used to play sometimes a right-footed left back as well. Tuchel, so I think Spence could do that.
Lyndon, change for Spurs, says, I still can't quite believe how so many people showed up to push for change today. We cannot be ignored any longer. Thank you to every single one of you. Every single one of you counts. We're only just getting started. And just look at those images yesterday. That one. This one here, look at that. Unbelievable. I'm trying to see if I can see myself in there, but no, I can't. Too many people.
Yeah,
next up, that's the banners right at the beginning of the protest.
I can see the.
Can you?
Yeah.
You what?
Got my mouse.
Oh, 1 minute.
Is that me?
You're holding a phone up in front there. I remember you standing there in the vlog.
Wait, show me. Put the mouse there again.
Did you have a hat on? Did you have a hat on yesterday?
I had some points I did, some points I didn't.
Was it that? Is that you? No. Next to Ricky's that there. I can see Ricky Sachs. Right at the front.
And Graham behind me.
Yeah. So that is you.
That could be me, yeah. That could be me.
Is that, were you wearing? Was that the hat you were wearing? Was it a Spurs hat or was it one of those?
No, I was wearing a black hat.
Black.
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe that can't be you then. I don't know.
It might just be my bald head.
Maybe it doesn't look like a head. It looks like a hat.
Well, anyway, it could be me. It might not be me, but it does fairly look like me. But anyway, next picture is of the banners. Next. Yeah, look at that. So many people. Never seen the high road so packed before.
Come on.
And the last one is just of the banner inside the stadium. So great work from everyone, and big up to Lyndon from Change for Spurs.
No sign of anyone taking down the banners yesterday?
No, nothing.
There you go.
Lily White Lab says Jed Spence is legitimately one of the league's best fullbacks. Consistency is incredible. Intensity and focus on defending is his 1v1s. Incredible carrier, and his quick footwork and rapid acceleration. Really good connectivity with his teammates in tight areas as well. And spot on.
Definitely. Yeah, and I just think he's really stepped on in all facets of his game, Jed. So it's really great.
Next up is Simon Yemene saying one of the most complete performances from a Spurs player that I've seen this season. Would you agree with that?
Big praise. I think it was his best performance of the season. I'm trying to think of other more complete performances rather than. I think we've given a few players 10 out of 10, haven't we? I think Decky's had a few unbelievable performances. Madison as well, I think, has had probably some really earlier in the season had some really great performances.
I think the only thing that was missing from Jed Spence's performance yesterday was probably a goal contribution. He probably would have got a 10.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. So it was close. It was close, to be honest.
THFC Report saying Madison and Danso. So Madison put on Instagram, big fella on smoke. And Danso says Madders is back.
Is that King Madders with the crown?
King Madders.
The King Madders, come on.
Hotspur Reports, look at this lovely image from Tell and Odebear before the game yesterday. You can see that bromance is going to start flourishing.
Come on, Agent Odebear getting this one. He definitely got this one over the line.
100%.
Come on.
Mari says, a captain encouraging his teammates. This is Sonny before the game, just giving words of advice and some motivational talks to each and every one of his players.
Come on, Bergval's. He's getting an extended one. He's getting an extended one, Bergval. Come on, Sonny. Well, everyone was fired up at the beginning, so it was great.
Yeah. What would you do for one of those Sonny hugs, man?
Oh, many things.
Eurofoot saying on Thursday night, Nabil Bentaleb returned to full training for Lille after suffering a cardiac arrest. Tonight, which was yesterday, he scored on his return for the French club in the game against Rennes. He literally got a goal 4 minutes after being subbed on too. So big up to Nabil Bentaleb.
Yeah, delighted for him. Obviously, someone who came through the Tottenham Academy. He's had I don't know how old he is now. He's probably in his 30s, but probably a very worrying for a player to go through that and come back and carry on playing, and him to score on his return. Lovely moment for him. Really, really special for him. So really happy for him.
Yeah. Let's scroll down to Carly on You Spurs. Says, look how happy they are to see Cuti Romero not wearing a fuck-ass ripped jeans.
Yeah, look at a lot of hugs.
Delighted to see Romero yesterday.
Yeah, I wonder if he wasn't there before the game.
Yeah, it feels like it's like the first time they're seeing him in ages, don't you think?
Yeah, look at him. He's like, wow, you're back, you're here. Maybe they're just happy with the win, but maybe, it looks
straight
like...
from the airport to the ground after arriving back from Qatar.
They look delighted to see him, and hopefully when he gets back on the pitch, they'll also give him a lift. Yeah. You can see how much they love him. It's great.
Spurs Watch saying, this is Tell's story on Instagram. This was brilliant, actually. Tell put this picture up with the quote saying, you picked the wrong club.
Oh, brilliant. You said that. That's so funny. Love it. Come on, Tell, with the shithousery. Come on.
Tottenham Hotspur, this is what it means. And look at Vicario. Look at Vicario. The passion.
God, that vein's going to pop any moment with you screaming. Come on. Love Big Vic.
Pro Tottenham says, hasn't been seen in months and shows up on the day that there's a mass protest against Levy. We see you, Cuti Romero.
Cuti was leading the protest 100%. 100%. He was in that crowd. No doubt about it. You can't convince me otherwise.
Ayudi says, Mickey Son spotted. Just a nice hug from Mickey van der Ven and Sonny after the game yesterday.
Yeah, let's hope that they're back soon. Because... that's just the final piece of the puzzle now. We just need back fit, and all of a sudden we're looking like a good team again.
Next up is that Sonny and Lucas hug that we've been through. Jed Spence posted this saying, still hungry after the game yesterday.
Come on, he ate yesterday, that's for sure.
Scroll down. Yeah, that's the one.
Come on. They're getting a lot of action out of that Decky quote, aren't they?
They are. After that was Spurs putting out the eyes emoji to Madison.
Madison giving the side eye to Keane, I think. He's like, you should have. Well, you said what you said, Roy. That's what you're saying.
SZY Comp saying our best player by a country mile to Jed Spence. Alex saying, Daniel Levy, get out of our club. I swear I was in that.
You are at the beginning. You're right there.
Oh, yeah.
There you are.
That's just as I was getting pulled to the BBC for an interview.
Oh, did you do it?
Yeah.
And where was it shown?
I don't know if it was shown. Izzy, that's the guy. He just pulls me.
I see. Ben had a bigger fish to fry.
Exactly.
There you go.
Spurs Express saying Tottenham fans using banners to protest against the board today. Brilliant stuff. Hotspur related saying Maddison now has 9 Premier League goals this season and is Tottenham's top goal scorer in the competition. His best return in a single campaign was 12 goals, 21-22 for Leicester.
Yeah, and I think his goal scoring has gone way under the radar, and I really think he can beat that tally for Leicester. And I think he's going to end up with a really good total, I think.
Hinachi looks like from Japan. I'm just translating it. Says, yes, I'm glad I was awake. It's fun to watch while listening to the live commentary of We Are Tottenham TV. Solanke, please come back soon. And he was watching your watch along in tandem with the game. Look at that.
Big up Hinachi, all the way from Japan. We see you. And we know that our commentary is better than Sky Sports. We know that. So big up to you. Come on.
Only when you're in the studio.
Of course.
And then finally, we're going to end off with a bit of Yang Min Hyuk love because he had his first start in QPR colours on the weekend on Friday night. Got his first goal contribution and some really exciting moments in the game as well. So Joel Kim says, game's mostly been played through the other side of the field, but the most impressive move by Yang Min Hyuk here, dodges a defender and drives forward and passes to Sato. That move, that speed.
Yeah, and mate, look at that. Rapid, isn't he? Absolutely rapid. So delighted for him. I think the assist was very impressive as well. But it looked like he had a really positive first start.
Yeah, and then Joel Kim as well saying...
That touch, poof.
This touch for the assist is like...
Delightful.
Proper amazing.
And then a lovely ball inside.
Look at that touch to get away from that defender. And that defender's like double his size as well.
Yeah, tricky little customer, isn't he? That defender got absolutely nowhere near the ball, and the lovely play from Yang, and really great to see him making a positive impact. Because I remember as well on his debut, he came off the bench and had a shot which nearly scored, and so he looks like he's had really positive impact so far at QPR.
Yeah, I saw a lot of tweets from QPR fans after the game saying, "Can we just start this guy every game, please?"
Oh, let's hope so, and let's hope he keeps adapting well, because he seems to be doing really well at the moment.
Yeah, and Joel Kim as well. That move, this is the move that we saw before, but just zoomed in a little bit. Just look at the way he takes it past that player. And then the little 1-2 kept running. Brilliant stuff.
Fantastic, yeah. And he's hard to catch him.
And this is the goal contribution just in full.
Yeah,
just that touch. And
just one little touch and he's gone. He's away. Very, very quick.
So, yeah, lovely stuff. So that
Big
is
up to
the
Yang.
way the internet did react to the game yesterday. And that is it for the game content. But we've still got some more content for you guys, so don't go anywhere. We will be going through our Predict the Prem in just a minute. Let's just get this off the screen, and then we shall do it.
We don't stop.
All right. Time to get into Predict the Prem. The scores on the doors are 222 to Sim, 230 to me. We go through each and every Premier League game, and we're going to be reviewing each one in terms of looking at our prediction as well, which is 5 points for a completely correct scoreline, 1 point for a correct result on the star man. Once you pick that man, you cannot pick them again for the rest of the season. 5 points for a goal, 2 points for an assist. And let's start off at the Amex Friday Night Football. Brighton 3, Chelsea 0. Sim went for 2-2. I went for 2-1 to Brighton, so I gain a point for this one. And yeah, I mean, Chelsea were completely dominated, weren't they? Mitoma was having all sorts of fun with the Chelsea backline, and Yakuba Minte as well, showing some brilliant stuff as well. So I think they just couldn't handle those two players in particular.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let's talk about Mitoma goal. Oh my word. What a touch from Mitoma. I think it's one of the touches of the season. That unbelievable pass from Verbruggen over the top. Mitoma is coming over his head, and somehow he's able to take... the ball's dropping over his head. Pause. It's dropping over his head, the ball. He takes an unbelievable touch, brings it down. It's an unbelievable finish. Maybe not... It's a quality goal, put it that way. It's a quality goal. But it's a great goal from Mitoma. But I think What's that? Two wins for Brighton against Chelsea in a few days.
Yeah.
They couldn't really handle Brighton on the day, and I thought Chelsea really struggled again. And I think it's time to. Is it time to be worried a bit about Chelsea?
No, it's time to be excited.
Why? Oh, excited for us, yeah. But like Chelsea, they've cut their depth in January. Felix is gone, Mudrik's banned, Jackson's now injured, Madueke's now got a long-term injury. They've got injuries in the back line for Fana, Badiashile, long-term injuries in the back line. They can't seem to find a goalkeeper in Jorgensen or Sanchez. Both of them don't seem to be going great. James is continuously injured at right back. Caicedo's probably being overplayed at this point in central midfield. They've been relying on Cole Palmer for way too long. And he's now kind of not maybe at the level he was a few weeks ago. And now they're on 2 wins in 10, I think, in the Premier League. Like they're really struggling for a bit of form in the Premier League now as well. So with the Nkunku hasn't been doing it the whole season. Now they're relying on him to play up front, and Maresca saying he's not a 9. Their only other alternative is Mark Guehi, and Mark whatever his name is, and he's injured as well. So they can't even play him. So is there a fear that this run of form could continue for Chelsea?
Yeah, I think so. They've got Villa away next, which I can't really see them getting much out of. Then they're lucky they play Southampton and Southampton and Leicester in the 2 games after that. I think the alarm bells will start ringing if they don't get points in those 2 games. If they get only 3 points out of those 2 games, then yeah, the alarm bells got to start ringing. But in terms of where they're at, they're currently 6th in the league, still in touching distance of the top 4, but you look at Man City now starting to turn the corner. You look at Bournemouth, they're showing consistent results. Nottingham Forest, they're doing well. Newcastle and them are kind of flattening to deceive a little bit, but I kind of trust Newcastle a bit more than I trust Chelsea at the moment. So Chelsea are in big danger of not getting
the thing is,
Europa League or Champions League.
A couple, if they lose to Villa, all of a sudden Villa are a couple points behind them. Fulham could I don't know if Fulham got next, but if Fulham win as well, all of a sudden, before they know, they could be 8th or 9th before they know it.
Yeah.
That's how tight the league is. So obviously they do have those 2 games against Leicester and Southampton. They have to win those games. But right now they just seem a team that are they're struggling at the moment.
Yeah.
And I think I know they're 6th and they're still right in there for the top 4. But the pressure might still be building, because if they finish below 6th, what justification at that point do they have for sacking Poch, who finished 6th?
I don't think there was a justification to sack Poch, because I think what Poch was doing, he had a really poor first half of the season, but then he started to get it together in the second half. And we all know the way Poch implements his system, it's going to take some time, particularly with the squad that they had there at that moment in time. So I think Poch, towards the end of the season, was actually showing really good form. I think apart from that loss against Arsenal, where they got absolutely demolished 5-0, they actually were on really good form, weren't they, at the back end of the season?
They won their last 5 games, didn't they? They only lost 2 in their last 14 or something.
That's what I'm saying. They were actually on really good form. And then Maresca came in and started really well, but now they're back to what they were kind of the first part of the season with Poch. And Maresca, whatever you want to say about him, or whatever you want to say about the good form that he had at the start of the season, this is not, it is a bit dissimilar, because Leicester were top of the league and they were smashing everyone, but Leicester had a great first half of the season and they completely dropped off a cliff second half of the season, just about got automatic promotion.
Yeah, but for me, it's more the injuries that are totting up now. And it's like, if I'm looking for how this turns around, they need Nkunku to really step up now, because he's not, let's be honest, I know he's been injured, but he's been a massive disappointment, Nkunku. Everyone expected a lot better from him since he's come to Chelsea, and when he's been on the pitch, apart from some Conference League games, he just hasn't done it at all. So they need him, I think, in this period to really step up and start getting some goals. Because if he doesn't, I'm struggling to see because their other players seem to be off form at the moment. I think with their defence as well, I'm not convinced at all with their defence and the injuries they have and their play. He's injured for a while, and
that's the problem with Fofana. You just can't keep him fit.
So I think Chelsea, this reform could continue. And we were talking about them in a title race not that long ago, and now all of a sudden we're saying they could be 8th or 9th if they're not careful.
Yeah. Do you think if he does finish below 6th, he will lose his job at the end of the season?
If he wins the Conference League, maybe he'll just about keep him in, even though it's expected.
The thing is, like any manager, any manager at Chelsea would have won the Conference League this season.
No, I agree. I'm just saying it'll probably just be enough to say, look, I won a trophy, and depends if he finishes I think if he finishes 8th or 9th, I think there'll be massive pressure from the fans to sack him, because that's what they did with Poch. So I think there'll be big pressure. Will the board do it? If he wins the trophy, will the board just have enough justification to keep him? Maybe, I think.
Yeah, I don't know, but you know what they're like. They'll probably sack him, even with that justification. But I'm looking. I just want to see their bench and see how poor it actually is. And it is fairly poor, to be honest. A lot of players in there I don't even know. That Tyreek George, when he came on, I actually quite liked the look of him. But Dewsbury Hall, they brought in the summer. He can't really get a look in. Reece James is there. Jadon Sancho is flattering to deceive a little bit at the moment. Yeah, there's not really much to go on there. The bench, is there?
Yeah, I think they're struggling. I'm just saying the injuries they have as well. You know, if they get a few more of those, you know, all of a sudden they could be struggling. Because Madueke, who's been a good player, and he's now injured for a while. Yeah. So all of a sudden they have to play these other players, and they're going to be in a similar situation, I think, soon to what we were.
Let's go to the King Power. Leicester 0, Arsenal 2. Sim went for 2-0. I went for 1-0. So Sim gets 5 points. I get 1 point. And yeah, it was a bit of a poor game up until the final 10 minutes, really, when Marino came on as a makeshift striker, got them 2 goals and got them out of trouble, really, because Arsenal were really poor. The only player that seemed to have anything about him, really, was the 17-year-old Ethan Nwaneri. Apart from that, they just couldn't find a way to hurt Leicester at all.
And Leicester looked like they could have got a goal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Leicester... I thought both teams didn't really look like scoring, to be honest. I thought it was going to be 0-0, and they really got out of jail with Marino coming off the bench and saving their blushes.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, Arsenal are looking to hang in there in that title race while they've got all these players out, and they need to keep winning these games. But off the back of that performance, I know they won, and they just about got over the line. It wasn't a convincing performance at all, and you're playing against one of the worst probably teams in the league and one of the most open defences at the moment under Ruud van Nistelrooy. And fair enough, you got the win. They got the 2-0 win, and they had to grind it out. But it didn't. I don't think many Arsenal fans would have watched that and held much confidence that playing like that is going to keep them in the title race. Even with Liverpool having tough games, you wouldn't be surprised if they drop points alongside them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the worry for them, because they're still 7 points behind at the moment. And as much as it's not 9, and you know they're trying to stay in there, you know you're still catching up 3 games with Liverpool, and that means even like. Can I see Arsenal just going on this winning run with the way they're playing? And this is more evidence of poor play, I think. And yeah, I thought before those last 10 minutes, it just didn't look like breaking the deadlock, and it was destined for 0-0, it looked like at that point. But they got the goal, and fair enough. And maybe they'll keep plugging away and they'll keep getting goals like this. But I think their luck might run out soon.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you're looking at these 2 goals from Marino in the last 10 minutes, right? So it's either 2 clutch goals that can be a springboard to going on a good run, or it's papering over the cracks, and I definitely think it's the latter.
Definitely.
Next up,
but from Leicester's point of view, they're just losing every week, aren't they? I mean, apart from beating us, I know they're still 2 points behind Wolves, but I can't see them staying up. I really can't.
I think relegation's done, to be honest. I think Wolves have got something about them. The other 3, not really. Next up, we go to Villa Park. Villa 1, Ipswich 1. Sim went for 2-1 to Villa. I went for 3-1 to Villa. And one of us should have got a 5 points in this week. We really should have, because Ipswich go down to 10 men in the first half. They take the lead. I think in the second half, was it? They took the lead, or it might have been the end of the first half?
They took the lead in the second half with 10 men.
Yeah, so it was in the second half. And Villa had more than enough chances to turn around this game and to put the game to bed, but they just couldn't finish their dinner, really.
I think they got punished for maybe thinking as soon as Ipswich went down to 10 that the game was won, because I thought they were actually quite poor for that in that first half, and they didn't actually play that well. Ipswich weren't offering that much threat either, but I thought Villa were kind of really not doing enough to win the game, and I think Ipswich were fairly comfortable. Then they went down to 10 men, and they probably thought, okay, we're easily going to go and win this game, and they just let their guard down for a second, allowed Liam Delap to score, and all of a sudden they just gave themselves that bit too much to do. And yes, they got the goal back. It was a really great free kick from Rashford, hit the post, and Watkins get the rebound. but they missed a flurry of chances late in the game, and they got punished for letting their guard down, letting Delap score when they had 10 men, and that's pretty unforgivable when a team down the bottom like that are down to 10, and you're allowing them to take the lead like that. That should never be the case. And in the end, it's a really poor result for Aston Villa. They're now winless in 4 in the Premier League. Aston Villa. There is 3 draws and a loss, but they are winless in 4 despite beating Spurs in the Cup, and they've also got mounting injuries in the centre-back position, and they're currently 9th in the table. So it'll be interesting if they go out of the Champions League, depending on they get in the round of 16, and this form continues in the league. I wonder if they'll start to be question marks over Unai.
I think it's a massive opportunity for them in the FA Cup this year with the teams that have gone out so far.
True.
You're looking at, who are their biggest threats? You've got Man City, you've got Newcastle. I think it's between them 3, really.
Forest, I guess.
Yeah, and you've got to put Forest in there as well. But, they've got a real chance.
For sure. But yeah, the injuries are mounting, seems, at the back for them. So I wonder if their form will start to slide until they get some defenders back.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that. But let's move on to Fulham against Nottingham Forest, and Fulham get over the line with a 2-1 win. Sim went for 1-1. I went for 2-1 to Forest. Didn't see much of this game, but Smith Rowe back at it. I mean, Silva was talking a lot about Smith Rowe in the build-up to this game, saying, you're going to see the real Smith Rowe now. And within 15 minutes, he scored a goal. Chris Wood, what a goal he scored. 37 minutes gone to level it up. Great footwork, and managed to find himself some space in the box to put it in the back of the net. I mean, we say it every week, but what a season this guy is having.
It did take a deflection, but fair enough. It was quick feet and had to get the shot off quickly. His conversion rate is incredible. It's actually the best in Premier League history. His conversion rate, yeah, it's like 40%. It's like ridiculously high, which goes to show, I think, what an amazing season he's had. But also goes to show that it's probably an outlier season. But everything he touches seems to be getting in the back of the net. He's just on 18 Premier League goals for him now. 18 for Chris Wood. What world we live in?
34 years of age.
Crazy. But fair play to him. He's having a wonderful season. But Fulham, adapted the game plan, and I thought played really well and deserved the victory. Had more chances. They were the ones on top, and a second poor away performance from Forest, I think it's fair to say, after losing 5-0 to Bournemouth. They've lost 2 of their last 3 now. But there's a 7-0 win against Brighton in between there. So
yeah.
Not going to say they're slowing down, but is there evidence of the form starting to slow down? Maybe, potentially.
Well, the big question is that will they finish in this top 5, top 4, top 5 for the Champions League spots?
Well, right now, as well as they've done, they're only 4 points away from Chelsea in 6th, so still very tight. That could change very quickly. And as I've said, I still think they're going to go on a run where their luck's going to run out a bit, and they're not going to be winning all these games as they were. And they will go on a run where they drop points in 4 or 5 games in a row.
Well, their run in the next 4 games are Newcastle away, Arsenal at home, Ipswich at home, and Man City at home.
Well, there you go. It's probably going to be this run.
Difficult run, but I back them to do something at Arsenal against Arsenal at home.
Yeah, sure. I think they're capable of getting results in all those games. I'm just saying I think there's a chance that as well their form maybe their run catches up with them a bit, and I think maybe they will start to see them drop a few points and get really dragged in, because they looked a shoo-in at one point for top 3, but I don't think they're going to be a shoo-in anymore. I think they're going to be in a dogfight for that top 5.
Yeah, particularly with the resurgence of this next team that we're going to be talking about. That is Manchester City, as they battered Newcastle by 4-0. We both went for 2-2, and Newcastle just got blown away in the opening half an hour, really. Omar Mamouche, announcing himself to the Man City fans, a hat-trick with inside, 33 minutes? Some great finishing ability. On top of that, with some great ball playing ability from the goalkeeper Ederson, which I think he makes it his 6th or 7th assist for Manchester City, which is unbelievable from a goalkeeper. But yeah, Omar Mamouche I can't believe what I saw from him. It was unbelievable in terms of his movement, the way he's so quick off his feet, and he just catches defenders out. And that's something I did notice in his first game for Manchester City, where he didn't really, he didn't put the ball in the back of the net in that game. But this game it all kind of clicked for him, and it kind of just took Haaland. Just took a lot of the kind of, when you've got him and Haaland together, it's just an unbelievable kind of duo because Haaland just takes so many defenders with him, and then it just leaves so much space for someone like Mamouche.
Yeah, I predicted he'd be the new Julian Alvarez. He'll just play that position. That's exactly what he's doing, and he's just floating around on the edge of the area, kind of exploiting the space that everyone gets drawn to Haaland. And to keep Haaland quiet, you need to give him extra attention. And when they do that, it's going to leave space for the likes of Mamouche to operate in. And I thought he exploited it absolutely ruthlessly. Brilliant bit of thinking by Edison for the first goal to go long and go direct to Mamouche, and he's kind of out-muscled Trippier and lobbed Dubravka, was it, for the first goal, or Pope, one of the keepers that was in goal for Newcastle, and Dubravka. He just went from strength to strength, and the second goal was a beautiful finish in the near post, and I thought the third goal, good movement, but I thought it was straight at the keeper. Probably could have done better there, but what a player, what a signing. I think he's going to turn out to be a phenomenal signing for Man City.
Mido doesn't miss.
He doesn't. He looks like he's found another absolute gem, and I think you add in, apparently Nico Gonzalez was absolutely phenomenal in this game. Pep calling him a mini Rodri, and maybe we're seeing a resurgence of Man City. The only problem for Man City is they're 16 points behind Liverpool, so they're not going to make a late charge for the league. And the problem for them is they're 3-2 down at Madrid, so I think they got a good chance of the Champions League if they can get through that tie. But at the moment, it's 50-50. They're losing 3-2. They've got to go to the Bernabeu and they've got to win. So if they go out of that tie, all of a sudden you're probably looking at only the FA Cup to play for.
Yeah, it's true, but this Real Madrid team this season is not exactly, as strong as they have been in previous seasons. So I do think there's an opportunity for them to go to the Bernabeu and actually take something. They've got
to do it, yeah.
Yeah, they've got to do it, obviously, but the way they lost it in the first leg must have been bitterly disappointing for them. And look, I think Nico Gonzalez is going to be a massive, massive player for them until Rodri's back, and Rodri's nearly back, I believe. So,
well, if he, nearly.
Yeah, well, they added. Well, I think he'll be back in the next month or month and a half.
I'll be surprised if that's the case.
Well, they added him into the Champions League.
Yeah, but I think maybe that's for like a semi-final or something.
You reckon?
I don't know if he's going to be back anytime soon. But look, they did add him in, so maybe he's ahead of schedule. But look, in terms of City, if they can still win the Champions League, then they can shut up a lot of people, I think, and it'll really set them up from like a building block for next season.
Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it? The building block for next season. That's the main thing, and I think they were smart in the January transfer window. They brought in really good players, and I think it's going to stand them in really good stead for the second half of the season. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think they signed smartly. I said a few months ago that these problems that they have are going to continue unless they address them in the window, and they have. And I think they're now going to go on a good run.
That's what a proper club do. They address things in the transfer window when they need to do it. And Man City were pretty much the only ones that did it to a good level in this January transfer window. Let's move on. Southampton 1, Bournemouth 3. And we both went for 3-1 to Bournemouth. So 5 pointers for both of us. Bournemouth kind of stamping their authority early in this game, going 2-0 up fairly early on. It was one-way traffic up until 10 minutes into the second half, and Southampton had a bit of a flurry, got a goal back, but then Bournemouth killed the game. Yeah,
I think pretty simple day for Bournemouth. I think they were probably guilty of allowing the game to nearly get away from them in the second half because they were so in control. It was almost too easy for them. By the way, Ryan Christie, what a season he is having. Scored a brilliant goal, and I think he's having a phenomenal season. I remember we had a Bournemouth fan on the channel. Well, no, sorry. I saw a Bournemouth account saying he's a cross between Gattuso and Pirlo or something, saying he's like an unbelievable, underrated midfielder. And the goal he scored yesterday was maybe proof of his quality, and brilliant goal on the weekend. And he's such a tenacious midfielder as well, but he marries that with decent passing range, and maybe he's one that goes under the radar a lot, Ryan Christie. But look, it was only Southampton, I guess. But again, even with the injuries, they're still going from strength to strength. I know it's Southampton, but you still need to win the game, and they won it fairly comfortably in the end. Southampton, we all know they're doomed at this point.
Yeah. West Ham 0, Brentford 1 at the London Stadium. Sim went for 2-1 to Brentford, so he gets a point. I went for 2-2. And yeah, it was an early goal for Kevin Sade 4 minutes in, and West Ham pretty much had no reply after that, and it ended up 1-0. I didn't see much of the game, but I saw the highlights. It didn't look like the greatest spectacle.
It seemed like a disappointing performance from West Ham, who struggle to really break down this Brentford team, who know how to defend and can defend quite well, especially when you're coming up against a West Ham team who are going to be a bit more open now. Potter's in charge. They're playing in a different way. They're still getting used to it. And I think Brentford really took advantage of it. And they got the early goal. And West Ham really struggled to hurt them, to be honest. And if anything, it looked like Brentford were going to get the second goal. And Mbeumo was giving them trouble, Wissa, Sharda. So I think poor day for West Ham. But it's still, teething problems for them under Graham Potter.
Yeah.
They actually haven't been that great.
No, very poor results under Graham Potter so far for West Ham. But what I would say is that Evan Ferguson started on the bench and he came on in the second half, and he was the one that actually started asking more questions of the Brentford defence. So maybe that's something to cling on to, I guess. Next up, we are going to look at Crystal Palace 1, Everton 2, and the Moyes train keeps on rolling. Sim went for 2-0, I went to 1-0 to Crystal Palace. And what an unbelievable result, again, for Everton on the back of that draw in the last minute against Liverpool in the last Merseyside derby at Goodison. Both of us were saying in the previews to this, how are they going to keep going? They're going to be running on empty. They put so much effort into that Liverpool game. And Beto, the man just can't stop scoring.
Incredible. The man is on fire. Everyone thought he was a completely striker who couldn't do it in the Premier League. But since Moyes has come in, he'd really made the most out of him. And since Calvert-Lewin got injured as well, you've got to remember Calvert-Lewin scored against Spurs as well when he returned, and then he got injured. And Beto's come in and he's absolutely firing on all cylinders at the moment. They've also got the new guy, Alcaraz, who I think has made a really positive impact since he's come to Everton. Came off the bench, I think the FA Cup looked brilliant, and came off the bench again on this one and scored the goal. Brilliant,
I like
brilliant winner. I thought, for Southampton, he was quite good. I remember in that little spell when they signed him in January, and he had a really good end to the season. And it looks like Everton have picked him up, and he's looking like a really good signing. It was a weird one because I actually think Palace probably were worth something out of this game, and will probably feel a bit aggrieved that they didn't get any points. But Everton, they picked their moments when they could. They defended properly, and they ended up getting all 3 points. It's a brilliant win. Going to Palace in Selhurst Park is no mean feat, and getting the win, and very impressive from them. Yeah. And especially after the energy they put in on Wednesday to come up with that kind of performance, fantastic. And now Everton, any thoughts of relegation are now long gone. They're probably looking up at the moment under Moyes.
Yeah, absolutely. And not many points in it between me and you. 4 points is the gap. As we move on to Liverpool 2, Wolves 1. Sim went for 3-0. I went for 2-0. And Luis Diaz puts them 1-0 ahead pretty early on. They get a penalty. Mo Salah dispatches it with 20 minutes, with 40 minutes gone in the game. Do you think it was a penalty?
The first one, I think the first one probably, yeah. I think there was enough contact. He went down. I think there was enough contact on Diaz for the referee to point to the spot. I don't think it was massively controversial. And I think the second one was a clear dive. I don't know why Jota wasn't booked after the VAR went to the screen, because there was no contact whatsoever, and it was a pretty horrible dive actually. So I don't know why the referee didn't end up booking him after looking at it in the screen, which he can do. You're allowed to do that if you've looked in the screen. So I think he's lucky. But I think Liverpool were probably worth a 2-0 lead at the time, but then second half they didn't have forget a shot on target. They didn't have a shot. They didn't have a single shot in that second half. I think Wolves really took control, and I know they had a goal ruled out from offside and a penalty cancelled, so that contributes to the lack of shots. But Liverpool almost thought the game was won, and they allowed Wolves to creep back into it. Kanate as well was lucky not to be sent off.
How was he not sent off?
I don't know how he wasn't.
How was he not sent off? Because he's on a booking and he makes a foul that was worse than the first booking. I just don't understand it.
Lucky boy.
That was a ridiculous decision, in my opinion. Ridiculous.
Terrible decision from the ref. And then Cunha gets a brilliant goal. And then that was 20 minutes ago, and you're thinking Wolves were really piling on the pressure. They had a few moments where Quanta had to make a last-ditch challenge, and they had a free kick on the edge of the bar. Well. Cunha. So Wolves probably feel like in that based off the second half, they were well worth a point in this game. Liverpool got away with one. But Liverpool probably kicking themselves because they were well in control. They deserved the 2-0 lead, and they just allowed Wolves back in the game, and they'll be frustrated with that.
Yeah, I mean, Cunha, what a player he has. What a season he's having.
The goal he scored makes it look brilliant. So easy on his weak foot, 25 yards. What a player.
Such a good player, and whoever he ends up going to in the summer are going to be a very lucky team, because he just keeps improving as the season goes. No matter, how poor or how good Wolves are, Cunha always keeps his standards up. And then last but not least, Tottenham against Manchester United, 1-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Sil went for 3-1. I went for 2-1. So we both get a point on the board. It was dubbed the what was it called?
El Crapico.
The El Crapico, and I think it did live up to its reputation. To be honest, I think Spurs were the better of the two teams. However, Man United did create some really presentable chances which they should have put in the back of the net. But from a Spurs perspective, good to see the injured players back. Maddison at it in the first half. Vicario put in a really good display. Jed Spence, obviously he wasn't injured, but he put in a man-of-match display. And the players coming off the bench. I mean, Udogie didn't get on the pitch, but Brennan Johnson and Wilson Odebear coming off the bench as well. So some good signs for Tottenham.
Yeah, and I think clearly the injured players coming back was a massive boost for Spurs. I think they looked more organised. I think the press looked a lot fresher and a lot more energetic. And I think the big players like Vicario and Maddison coming back into the team made a massive difference to Spurs. And I think that's what got them over the line in the end. I think Man United struggling with injuries, only had a bench of teenagers and they weren't able to really change the game and freshen things up, and that's probably what cost them, albeit they probably had enough chances to get an equaliser, but Spurs as well probably had enough chances to take the game away from Man United and make it 2 or 3-0. So I think both teams will feel like they could have scored more goals in this game, but I think overall Tottenham were just that little bit more organised and a little bit more kind of energetic, and that had that little bit more quality in this game. Wasn't that much in it, but I think Tottenham deserved the win, and they got the well-needed 3 points. Their first home win since November, which is crazy to think about, and back above United now.
Yeah.
But with Man United, there's still questions about Amorim, and a lot of people complaining, a lot of people saying he needs to change it, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. The problem with Man United is they've had this poor run of form with a lot of players to choose from, and now they've got all these injuries. So how is this form ever going to do anything but get worse?
Yeah, I mean, does it really matter though? Like, if they're not realistically going to go down, unless you do think they're realistically go down, like what really does it matter too much?
Well, he's a Man United manager. Can he really finish, 15th, 16th, 17th? And is that going to be without becoming under serious pressure?
Yeah, I mean, he's got less points than Moyes has picked up for Everton already. Or one point in. I think he's got 1 point more or something.
That's crazy. And he picked up the job in November or October. Yeah. No, November it was, yeah. It's nuts. He's on crazy bad form, and he's also getting frustrated. Look, I understand they want to give him time and all these things, and I would say that they should give him time. That would be the smart thing. But I'm saying I know the Premier League. I know being Man United manager, the pressure it comes with. And if he's, finishing around that spot, he's going to come under immediate pressure. And all of a sudden, a bad start to the season next season, he could be gone if they do keep him on, that is. And I think he does have to show that he can turn this form around, I think.
Yeah. Do you think there's a sense, though, like with clubs wanting to give managers a bit more time? They gave Ten Hag probably more time than what his performance warranted. Spurs have probably given Ange Postecoglou maybe a bit more time than they would have given any other manager maybe in the past. And you look at Arsenal with Arteta as well, where they played through the bad times with him. So maybe they'll do the same with Amorim.
They might do. I mean, I'm just saying the only way to make sure you make it to next season is getting results, and he's leaving up to chance if he doesn't.
Yeah. And, last season, the thing that saved Ten Hag's job was winning the FA Cup. And they're still in the FA Cup, and they're in the Europa League as well. So
I know, but the way they're playing and the players they've got out injured now, long-term injuries, Ahmad, their best player, missing for the rest of the season. They've got Ugate's picked up an injury. They've got Mainu, apparently he's going to be missing for a few weeks with a bad injury. Big players for them are now missing with injuries. So now they've literally, yesterday they only had 11 players and the rest were what's called academy players. So their players are going to, then they're still in Europa League and they're in the FA Cup. Their players are going to be playing quite very often, and every 3 days and all these things. So they're going to have tired players. They're going to have not good enough players. They're going to have players getting used to the system. They could they go on a similar run to what we just went on now, and they're not even that far off in terms of their run of points right now. So I think if I was the board, I'll be like, yeah, I understand the situation, and we'll judge you next season, but there's no guarantees they do that.
Yeah, I think they will. I do think they will, but we'll see. We'll see. We've seen managers sacked for less, that's for sure, but we'll see what happens. But let's move on to the star men. We went for a Bournemouth head-to-head. Usually when we do that, none of them get any goal contributions. They rarely even play. But this time, they both started. Justin Cliver against Dango Utara. Dango scored. after about 10 minutes in the game, and Justin Cliver responded with an assist for Ryan Christie's goal not long after that. So Sim gets 2 points, I get 5 points, and we end up 237 to Sim, 244 to me, and Sim cuts the gap by 1 point from last week.
7 points, 2 points, because it was 9, now it's 7. I think.
Was it 9 last
I think
week?
so. Anyway, I cut the gap. That's the most important thing.
That is the most important thing. But we move on, and we'll be back on Thursday for another round of Predict the Prem. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But I want to thank you all for joining us throughout. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.